It's 7:31 and welcome to the Millburn Township Planning Board meeting. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that notice of this meeting is made by posting on the bulletin board at Town Hall and serving the officially designated newspapers a list of the meeting dates annually, indicating that this meeting would take place at the Millburn Board of Education, Education Center Building at 7:30 p.m. on March 4th, 2026. May I have a roll call, please?
Jonathan Baxter.
Here.
Allison Canfield. Here. Michael Cohen.
Here.
Jorge Mastro-Petro.
Here.
Deborah Neves. Here. Frank Sacamandi.
Here.
Michael Zion.
Here.
Srini DJ, Vice Chair. Chair Justin Happert.
Here.
Sergey Sipstov.
Here.
Chris Hykes.
Here. Okay, tonight on the agenda, we have some minutes to approve, a couple applications, and a brief executive session or an expected brief executive session at the end. So housekeeping first. Did everybody get the January 7th, 2026 meeting minutes, regular meeting minutes? Are there any comments or questions? I'll make a motion to adopt the regular meeting minutes from January 7th, 2026. Do I have a second?
Second. No.
I think you would have to abstain on that one, according to the attendance record on the minutes themselves, if they're accurate.
You're right. Sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
I'm sorry, did we get another second? Oh, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Did everybody get a chance to go over the January 7th, 2026 executive session meeting minutes? Any comments or questions? As such, I will make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes for the executive session from January 7th, 2026. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, next up, we have two applications, and I was given notice that somebody wanted to switch the order of the applications, but I'm not certain which one is going to take longer. So I think we're just going to leave them the way they are. Hopefully they both go very quickly and smoothly, and we'll get out of here tonight early. So first up is application 26-001, preliminary and final major site plan with associated C variances and design waiver. Millburn LLC, 187 Millburn Ave, lot 305, lot 1. The representation.
Good evening, Richard Skolnick. I have my own law firm here in Millburn, and as you mentioned, I'm representing UE Millburn LLC, the property owner. We're at 187 Millburn Avenue. It's lot 305, lot 1 on the tax maps. We're in the B2C zone, and you're all familiar with it as the Millburn Gateway Center with the existing Trader Joe's and PetSmart. We're here tonight for an amended site plan approval to add 2 new tenants to the roster and to make what we believe are significant upgrades with a patio, a seating area, sidewalks, and a new staircase. We're going to call that a pedestrian plaza. We're adding 2 new tenants, as mentioned, Barry's Boot Camp and Jet Set Pilates. These are nationally recognized tenants going into a portion of the space previously occupied by Motion Fitness. That space has been vacant for 5 years. So we're happy to have some new tenants. The new tenancies are causing a need for some relief in terms of parking, because a few years ago, the township changed its parking ordinance and made some differing standards for health and fitness facilities that have classes versus a generalized health and fitness type facilities. So where a general gym is 1 per 200, the gyms with classes are 1 per 100. So that increases the demand by 31 spaces in this shopping center. 704 spaces are now required per the ordinance. Back in 2009, as I set forth in my application package, the board granted approval for 583. 583 was approved. There's 580 out there today. A little bit of slippage, and we propose 567 spaces, a loss of 13 spaces due to the new pedestrian plaza. The fire department is looking for 3 additional spaces for greater space for maneuverability. And we, of course, agree to amend the plan to recognize the request from the fire department. So we'd be down to 564 from the 580 today, which is a little bit lower than the 583 approved. So I'm gonna call it marginal differences. We have done a parking survey, that's in your package, and the maximum observed spaces was 243. 243 was the maximum observed, so that's only 42% of the spaces at a maximum time were being used. So there's plenty of parking in the very large parking field that we're familiar with. We do have some relief on the signage that we're requesting, and we'll go over that. In terms of the lineup, Chairman, as we discussed, we're gonna start with very brief testimony from Charlie McDonald, the owner's representative. We'll have the civil engineer, Rob Murray. We'll have our parking expert, Michelle Bryhoff from Colliers, and then Mr. Keller, Rich Keller, is gonna come and talk about the variances and the waivers that we need. As I had mentioned, we have the architect here who had done the signage plans. I'm not gonna call him, but he's here if available. And we also have representatives from those 2 tenants, Barry's Boot Camp and Jet Set Pilates. Did Akira make it? He just made it off the plane to come in for us to be available, if you need the information. But I thought 4 witnesses may be enough. I think I'll take about 45 minutes, depending on the questioning, of course. So with that, Chairman, can I call my first witness?
Please.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, before you do, I just want to note for the record that I did have an opportunity to review the notice, found the content to be sufficient, found it to be timely served and published, served by certified mail on February 17th, published in 2 newspapers. You don't get extra credit for 2 over 1, but in my opinion, particularly nowadays, with the situation going on with online news publications. So February 18, Star Ledger, and February 19, the item, and the certified mail was on February 17, all of them at least 10 days prior to this evening. So the board does have jurisdiction to hear and decide the application tonight. And I'm happy to swear in all the witnesses at once, or at least those that we think are going to be testifying. That would help things, as well as our board professionals. You'll all raise your right hand.
Stand up. Akira, you want to stand up? And
You take the 4 or even the 7, just in
Joanna, we
case.
got him here. Okay.
There's no extra charge for the swearing. Do all of you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I think we got all set. So and our board professionals, so we're all set, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, we'll call our first witness, Charles McDonald. Can I call you Charlie?
Sure, Charles Woodward. Good
Okay.
evening.
Charlie, what's your position with Urban Edge?
Director of Development,
And you've been responsible for the project that's in front of the board tonight.
correct.
Can you just tell us very briefly about Urban Edge?
Sure. Urban Edge is a publicly traded real estate investment trust based out of New York City. We focus on owning and management of suburban shopping centers across the Northeast corridor. In total, we've brought about 72 shopping centers with 33 in the state of New Jersey.
And what are the towns around here that you have?
There are many, Montclair, Morris Plains, Paramus, Watchung, South Plainfield, the list goes on.
And Urban Edge has owned this center since 2017,
Correct.
and there's been some work done in terms of maintenance issues. Can you just talk about that and how you got here today?
Yeah, the work that's been done since 2017 has been typical capital expenditure work, landscape upkeep, parking restriping, just the general things that go into owning a shopping center. Now we're at the point where this tenant had vacated and we're looking to make an upgrade to make the space releasable for future tenancy.
Okay, and could you go into your thought process, your design process? I'm gonna call out the pedestrian plaza, which is in your package, so Mr. Warner, I don't need to remark it, do I?
No, but if you could identify with date and, sheet number, if there is one,
Okay,
and just a title for it.
Okay, I think I called it Barry's Landscape View. Barry's Landscape, this is view number one, prepared by Studio 39 with a date of February 18th, 2026. Okay, and Charlie, this was prepared under your direction and supervision,
That's correct.
and you worked with the civil engineering drawings and the renderer, and you were involved in putting this together,
That's correct.
okay? And, the question I had was, what was your thinking on what you want to do with the shopping center at this time with these two tenants?
Sure. Like Rick mentioned, the former tenant Motion Fitness vacated in 2021 following the COVID pandemic. In the time since then, we have reached out to a variety, a real number of retail tenants to backfill that space. What's become clear over time is that the configuration of the space, really its depth, is not conducive for a current retail business operation. As we kind of went down the roster of tenants who even could occupy that space, it began clear that demising the space for a multitude of smaller tenants would be the most probable outcome. At that point, it became a question of how do you deliver customers to those tenant spaces? You really need to create a new retail tenant storefront, which you can see here on this exhibit.
Okay, you have about 10,000 square feet.
11, yeah,
Okay.
11, correct.
Okay, about 11,000 square feet, it's a
That's
big
right.
chunk of space.
Correct. Yeah, so as we worked through and understood that a demising would be required to release the entirety of the space, it became a question of, where is that new tenant storefront? As it became clear that it needed to be to the left of Barry's on the site plan, we needed to regrade an existing berm. It's about 14 to 16 feet, depending on the area, to create customer pedestrian access to those new retail storefronts.
Okay, and in redesigning and get the access, you're able to add some tables and, nice patio, landscaped area.
Of course.
Okay, our civil engineer will take this in a little bit more detail. There was a cost in terms of some parking.
Right.
Can we just talk a little bit about the thought processes there?
It was a conversation with our parking consultant over time, understanding where folks are parking and where are they going from. Once they park, where are they going? When we came to the conclusion that the parking lot in its entirety only got to a 42% occupancy, it made us comfortable with removing a few additional spaces to enlarge the size of the pedestrian plaza that you see here, which kind of gives, we think, a little bit better of access for customers through these variety of different entry points to different areas of the parking field. Additionally, the new staircase is, we're aware that people come, up and down from Trader Joe's and you have to shimmy past each other because it's a narrow stairway. By enlarging that, it allows for customers who do park in this field to kind of better maneuver the property.
Okay, and the civil engineer will talk about it, this pedestrian plaza, that's gonna give you access sort of at the upper level
Correct.
to the Barry's, the Jet Set, and what we call the to be determined. That's another tenant that you're looking to fill at some point
That's
there.
correct.
So there's now 3 separate retail entrances sort of on the upper level.
That's correct.
Okay, and that's different today, but it's gonna be sort of built up.
Correct.
So, any idea who's gonna take that space?
We don't know yet. We've been speaking to tenants, but no one with real certainty of who might take that space.
Okay, Chairman, that concludes this witness. Want to just give you a little background where we were, how we got there.
Does anybody have any questions?
So if I'm understanding, this plaza is gonna come out into the parking lot where the top of the current stairs are from the lower lot up to the upper lot.
That's generally speaking correct, yes.
So all those parking spots where overflow Trader Joe's and PetSmart parking often occurs will be gone. 13 of those spots will be lawn.
That is correct.
Okay.
The calculation of 42%, is that the upper lot and lower lot or just this upper?
We're gonna have the parking person, but that's the 42 of the entire parking field. And she'll be able to break that down a little bit.
But just a follow-up question. So will there still be spots on that upper lot close to the stairs for Trader Joe's overflow parking?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Do you have a sense of how many of those spots will still be
I-
close to the stairs?
If I recall offhand, it's maybe 50 to 60
Close to the
remaining,
stairs?
remaining in that portion that I believe you're referring to.
Okay.
Bear with us, because we're gonna have the civil drawings next.
Any more questions?
Will the city drawings show which parking spots are being taken away?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just hold that question, we're almost there.
How long has the wait on the property?
Since 2017.
What's your average hold?
Average hold. You know what, we spun off of another company in 2016, and for many of these properties, I mean, we can get some in our portfolio since the 60s. You know, it depends on the property. We call ourselves an indefinite holder.
Keller, Mr. Penney, do you have any questions?
I think it's certainly still.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody from the public have any questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now we're going to call our next witness, our civil engineer, Rob Murray. Okay, Rob, you're on the road still?
Yes.
Can you provide the board with your professional qualifications?
Evening. I graduated from Stevens Institute of Technology in 2017 with a bachelor's in civil engineering. I've been a professional engineer for 5 years now, and I've provided numerous testimony in front of numerous boards, but never in front of Millburn Planning Board.
And you've been recognized by those boards as an expert in the field of civil engineering?
Correct.
Okay, if we could get your,
Just one further question, unless the chair wishes to ask it.
Your license still current in New Jersey?
Yes.
Thank you. You are acceptable as a civil engineer for the board.
okay? This is an aerial, this is not in the package, right, Rob?
Correct.
So we're gonna mark this as A1 with tonight's date of 3/4/26, and we're gonna call it aerial photo Millburn Gateway Center. Okay, Rob, can you orient, can everybody see this okay?
No, we should.
Could we move it?
100%. Can I move that? Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Scully, did you say this is an exhibit A1?
A1.
Yep.
Rob, move that up so this can't be able to see it.
Perfect.
Okay. What do you want to say?
What's that?
Okay. So you want, I don't want to grab you.
No, you
So,
go ahead,
okay.
you can stand up front.
I'm sitting on your lap now. Okay, Rob.
Okay. So this is the aerial photograph of the existing site, and just to orientate my drawings today, both of my exhibit north is facing up. The site, better known as Millburn Gateway, is designated as Lot 1 in Block 305. It is located to the north of Millburn Ave between Wyoming Ave and Myrtle Avenue. It is approximately 9.6 acres and is located entirely within the B-2C highway business zone. The site is surrounded to the north beyond the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western Railroad by single-family homes. To the east by single-family homes and commercial uses. To the south by townhomes, and to the west by commercial uses. Okay. If I can share with you my next exhibit, which is our overall plan exhibit.
Is this this is not in the package?
This is not in the pack.
Okay, so we're gonna call this A2, you called it overall plan.
Correct. The applicant is seeking to replace the vacant motion fitness with 3 new tenant spaces. 2 being the Barry's Boot Camp and the Jet Set Pilates, and the 3rd, an unknown tenant, but likely being another fitness. And this is a colorized rendering with our improvements shown to the northeast corner. The applicant is also seeking to provide a patio area, approximately 7,000 square feet. This includes concrete sidewalk, a bike rack to the north of the northeast corner, 2 seating areas to the east of the building, right here and right here. Reconstructing the existing stairwell to be 8 foot wide, as previously explained. To provide an ADA compliant ramp to the north here. All of this demolishing a existing portion of the parking area to enhance the site aesthetics and its function.
Ms. Nevis asked about where the parking spaces would be lost. Can you show that?
Yeah, so stating the obvious, the patio area is here, as I explained before, but if I can refer back to my existing conditions exhibit, they're approximately within this area here.
Okay. And for transparency, the fire department also recommended that we remove 3 spaces.
Correct, so.
Okay, can you show, and we obviously agree to that.
Yes.
That's a safety issue. Where are those 3 spaces?
So they will be the 3 nearest spaces on this corner of the upper parking level, closest to the building.
Okay, so that's presumably the fire department felt that there'd be a safety improvement with that, and the client agrees to do that. So to the extent necessary, we're amending our application on that issue.
Correct.
Okay.
The site improvements also include 2 compactors to replace the existing dumpsters at the northwest location of the site. These compactors will be sealed to not let rain fall in. I know that is a concern.
There was a comment in one of the review letters to put a fence around that. We can do that as well.
Correct.
Okay.
The improvements to the enhancing the site also include landscaping. We are providing 2 deciduous trees, 93 shrubs, and providing decorative light fixtures, removing the existing light fixture that was in the area of the existing patio, or within the limits of the proposed patio, and providing 3 decorative lights to really enhance the aesthetics and function of the site. The site is not considered a major development, as it is not disturbing more than more than an acre, and providing more than a quarter acre of impervious area. It actually equals the amount of impervious area.
So no increase in impervious, so no stormwater requirements as part of this application.
Correct. And just to tee up the waivers, existing non-conforming in both variances of the site, the lighting waiver within the patio area, we have an average of 5.39 foot candles, where 1 is the maximum, a maximum of 8.9 foot candles, where 3 is allowed, and a uniformity ratio of 5.93, where 3 is the maximum. Existing non-conformities include parking setback, where 9.1 feet exists, where 20 is the minimum.
And we're not changing that,
Correct.
okay?
Parking dimensions, the parking spaces are 9 by 18, where 9 by 19 is required. Again, we are not changing. And the loading spaces, we are required 4 spaces where 2 are provided.
And again, we're not changing that.
Correct.
Okay. Well, just talk about the lighting a little bit, where we added the decorative lights, and this is we're in a waiver situation. I think the board appreciates that. It's not a variance, but it's a waiver because it's in the site plan ordinance, so it's a little bit of a lower standard. What was your thinking in terms of the design? And then, you've had a back and forth with, Mr. Keller on what we should do with the lighting.
We want to enhance the aesthetics and function of the patio area to really be a bright spot of the property. The ordinance is a pretty tough ask to be under the 1 foot candle average that is required. And as just to reiterate, the applicant really wants to freshen up the site with enhancing the landscape and lighting of the patio area.
In terms, we're over, but in your view as an engineer, is it gonna have any impact on any of the neighbors? And Rob,
Yes. I don't anticipate any impact from the proposed lights to the neighboring property.
I think Eric felt perhaps that a decorative light could be lost. You think it makes sense to have a little bit better lighting in these more well-traversed areas?
I think it makes sense to have this big, well-lit for the sake of the pedestrians maneuvering the site.
With no impact really on the neighbors.
With no impact on the.
Okay, but the client's flexible because we're talking about decorative light, how much decorative lighting. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did we have 1 new parking space that's 9 by 18 somewhere?
Yes, correct.
Well, can you just point out where that is?
At the bottom of the stairwell, on the lower parking level, just adjacent to this proposed crosswalk, we're providing 1 space.
Okay, so that's just 1, so we need a waiver for that, because we're 1 foot short, but we want to get that space in there if we can at a 9 by 18, which is standard in a lot of places.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else, Rob?
You mentioned the bulk variance on the parking. We are providing, after taking the 3 parking spaces as suggested by the fire official, we are providing 464 spaces.
Sure about that?
I'm sorry, 564 spaces. I got that. 564 spaces, where 704 spaces are required, but previously approved for 583 spaces.
Okay. And we'll hear the testimony on the parking analysis. That's gonna be a separate witness.
Correct.
Okay, so, loss of 13 for the plaza, plus the 3 for the fire department. With some increased demand because we've gone to gym classes versus the motion fitness and general lines of gym.
Correct.
Anything else? There's no changes to the building or no other, no other site plan changes, fairly modest.
Yes, correct.
Chairman, that's really it. It's not that complicated.
What are the bike racks? Can you indicate again? How many bike racks are there?
The bike racks are here.
We amended the plans. I think there was some discrepancy in the different plans, and so we cleaned that up.
Yeah, we clarified where the location would be. We could provide the number on the plan. We do not have the number shown on for the number of racks at this.
Room for 2 racks, something like that.
Yeah.
And then also for the, have you given more thoughts to the electrical vehicle infrastructure? How many spots?
We're not required any electric vehicle. Therefore, we're not proposing any electric vehicle.
Right, do you think it's a good idea to include?
Well, seeing as we're not really proposing, introducing a lot of new parking, it doesn't make sense to me to introduce the electric.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
It's not required by state law to provide EV parking. First question. Second question, since you are short in parkings, for how many 300 parkings short, right? Why you don't provide EV parkings to compensate, because the state said that for every EV parking, we count two regular parking.
Correct.
So maybe first, why is not required?
But I
That would be
believe
the
that
question.
it's based on what you're required, you get credit on what you're required to provide for EV station. So I don't believe that we would get any credit for it.
Why is not required here?
We are not required, if you look in the frequently asked questions for sites that are providing where the parking is already provided, existing parking, and you are not improving the parking count, you are not required any additional, you're not required any EV spaces.
We're not adding.
You are not adding, but you are reducing.
We're reducing the parking.
Yes, so in that case, maybe it will make sense for us to say, okay, there is a detriment about the parkings. Maybe you can say, okay, we are losing so many parkings, we can provide EV parkings. My second question about
I
that.
hear you, we'll take that into,
Yeah.
Here you maybe we'll have a couple
Of
minutes.
course. And my second question is, again, we are short in 300 parkings or something like that. Do you think that only two bike racks is enough? When this town, many people likes to bike. And we are trying to make this town more bikeable, so.
Are we find room for another bike rack over there, Rob?
Again, we are short in 300 parkings, right? So.
Yes, in one way, but the board previously said, 580 is okay, so. Technically, we're short, but Rob, I think that's reasonable.
Sounds like you have a lot of space there.
If the community, think we could find room for another bike rack somewhere,
Or maybe
That I
10
can-
more racks.
that I can commit to, I don't have to talk to them on.
This is it's a big parking, so that's,
Yeah.
so maybe,
Yeah,
I don't know, 5 is not enough.
What goes in the spot where the three for the fire department are going away? Does that just stay asphalt where it's access for the trucks or?
Yes, it would be patched for fire striking.
it's been like this obviously for a while, presumably the fire department said, look, we're gonna take another look at that, and that happens from time to time. They said, we're looking for an improvement. We like those spaces, we realize that there's gonna be some maneuvering around at those very peak times, with the parking spaces, there, but this is the layout, there's not too much, the parking, the fire guys said they want those spaces for their trucks, so.
And where you're building the whatever, your pedestrian area, is that over the existing parking lot below, or is it just the hill that you're going straight up instead of the hill?
Clarify?
The area here, are you taking away any over the existing parking lot, or I think it's a hill there, you're just kind of filling in the hill to create space above it?
Yeah, you're saying is the proposed patio area is more level with the upper parking area. It's not sloping down.
He's asking, are we losing any spaces in the lower part?
Yeah, because that's my next question. You said you're adding one, which is good. Seems like there's open space there and a bunch of cars just kind of hang out as people load and unload. Are we losing that sort of hangout space?
We're not losing any spaces in the lower parking area. You're providing.
Not spaces, it's just kind of like open pavement right in front of the Petco where cars just kind of conglomerate there because you can't find parking over here. So they kind of like load and unload there.
You have the answer there.
Because
Changing the grading in front of it.
It's the loading
Yeah, so
area.
that's what I'm saying, we're not losing any house. And they're turning one into a formal space, because I think there is extra space.
You may know better. Good job. That's smart.
And there's no changes to the Pets place.
Well, Mr. Keller wanted us to take the shrub out. We were gonna fight that, but we thought we'd accede to that request.
No substantive changes.
There's one shrub, we were.
Very big.
Prune it, but we said. We'll just defer to Mr. Keller on that, since we're planting quite a few shrubs, we said take away the shrub, we're not sure why he wanted to remove that, but, well, we're happy to. Rob, you had a chance to look at Mr. Keller's review letter?
Correct.
Okay, no issues with anything that's in there?
No issues addressing.
Okay, Chairman, we did have one thing. Mr. Keller pointed out something with the calculation of all the the different tenants. One of the tenants over on, this side of the building, the western side, right, Rob? One of the tenants, we marked it as retail when we did our parking calculation. It's vacant right now. We marked it as retail. You wanna show them where that is, Rob? It's about 1,200 square feet.
It's located on the side of the building. on the
Yeah.
west
Whether,
side of the building.
we think that it's likely that if that does get leased, it's gonna go medical, which would create a demand for 2.9 additional spaces. So if the board is willing, on the fly, we would like to amend the application to sort of remark that as medical. So that if they get medical, we don't have to come before you again, if you follow me. It would be an increase, we realized it from Eric's letter, that, there's about 1,200 square feet there.
Is item 23 on Mr. Keller's letter of March 2?
Yeah, it's on the side of the building where there's just, plenty of parking, And what it would do is, if we came back in and they got medical, we wouldn't have to come back for a variance application. I think the board appreciates that, the enormity of the cost of this process.
What is the final parking?
So it would move us up 2.9 or 3 spaces, so that it would go to 707 would be per ordinance from 704. We repeated, that's the requirement. Of course, in 2009, the board approved 583. It's being reasonable, and our next witness is gonna talk about the fact that even at the peak on a Saturday, they've only been at 42%. That would be the peak. So this field is sure all of you have been out. This field is open in, most of the time.
The former tenant hasn't been there for 4 years.
That is correct, but if somebody's gonna go there at some point, that's, and I think the point that Ms. Nevis was getting at. Actually, the hours of operation and the busiest times for the boot camp and the jet center in the early hours, 6, 7, 8 a.m. But there's gonna be certain times of day when it's gonna get more crowded and people are gonna have to walk. There's plenty of parking, they're gonna have to walk a little farther, and there is gonna be some additional congestion in that area at the very peak times. So, we appreciate that, but they could, like any parking lot, sometimes you gotta walk a little further.
Right, but your parking expert didn't arrive on Friday until, I think, 3 o'clock. So was not there earlier in the day. When it's busier because kids are in school and parents are shopping at Trader Joe's and doing their errands, so that, I was wondering, I can ask him about that, but not sure why she came at 3. Which is much later in the day for people who are out and about.
Our next witness.
I did have some questions for I don't know if this is for you.
Board member Nurse,
If-
can you, Mike? Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry, those aren't working, never mind. My bad.
I will try to speak louder. If you are the one who would address the forester's concerns about the rose bushes.
Yes, we can revise the landscape plan to address all the comments on the landscaping, including the foresters.
Maybe some native plantings.
We're certainly agreeable to a condition to get a sign off on.
Okay,
on
and then
foresters.
I had some questions about the lighting, since you're gonna be adding it sounds like a fair amount of lighting. What the environmental impact is, I know you're expressing concerns about the neighbors, but I'm just wondering how targeted the illumination is gonna be, and whether there's a way to use more LED lighting or to decrease whatever might interfere or might contribute to light pollution.
Okay, so we are providing 3, it's mostly decorative lights, they're not as heavy as the LED lights. So to address your concerns on the light pollution, it's not like you're The LED light I would anticipate would be worse for the light pollution. But as I can reiterate, it's not spilling from the site. The proposed light fixtures are not spilling from the site.
So you're not,
The impact from the proposed lights, it's not making it past the property line.
Those are the lights that are depicted in the renderings.
Yeah.
It's the 3 light front posts.
Here.
You describe those, you said it's not LED and it's decorative, what does that mean?
So we provide, I believe, on the final page of our site plan. They're more like rounded and they're like they're decorative and they're not as high as the rest of the parking. It's a,
The other rendering you had earlier will be a lot more easy to see them. One right over there.
This is, okay, this is in the package, right? So this is Barry's landscape view 1 upper level, prepared by Studio 39, February 18th. Can you point these out, Rob? With the decorative lights that you're talking
Yeah.
about that put us over on the requirement.
here.
So we have the 3, puts us over. You like them, you think it makes sense to give some lighting to that area, but differing minds can
It's a
differ.
dark area.
It's a dark area, they're decorative, I understand they're not normal fixtures. But the lamps, are they LEDs, incandescents, fluorescents? Why, you keep saying decorative, I don't know what that means.
Okay,
I mean, the bulbs must be these things.
I apologize. They are LEDs, but they're not the high LEDs such as the neighboring light fixtures.
Okay, so they're LEDs and dimmable, controllable, all that good stuff, are they gonna be on all night?
So we're talking with the applicant, they go on with the photometric of what the current natural light is. So from dusk to dawn, they will be on.
Okay, so all night long.
No,
After midnight, they turn off.
excuse
And then
me,
they
after
turn back
midnight.
on at about 5
Charlie,
a.m.
stand up. Donald, you're on the road still, right?
That's correct. I apologize. Yes, so they are on from dusk until 12 p.m. midnight, and then they turn back on at 5 a.m. until dawn, 8 a.m. depending on the season.
Can you, I don't know if you're the right witness, but I'm just a little confused about the functionality of the patio. Like, what's being planned there? Is that like seating and, you know, and then now I might have a different opinion about the lights going off in the dark area. So can you explain the functionality of the patio?
Well, in terms of the landscaping you're providing to the deciduous, as I said, to the deciduous trees.
Are there benches? What are you expecting
Yeah.
people to do there?
There's seating areas, we don't show any details on our plan, but we are providing seating areas here and here. They're a little bit ambiguous at the moment of what exactly are gonna be put there. As what furniture.
So my concern is that I'm just concerned about a security issue with an open seating area now with, you know, that's dark in the middle of the night, you know. I think I would just like a little more detail about what's planned there.
Is the idea for that patio to be an area where people that arrive early for their class on a nice day can sit outside? Is that the intention?
I think so, or maybe they just finish the class. Pilates, for example, appeals primarily to women. They may stay around for a little bit after, have a cup of coffee or a drink or something like that. An amenity, an upgrade. It's not a play area, but we have, landscaped area, some seating, the bike areas or anything else, any other furniture, conceptual furniture, proposed there?
I think you nailed it. I think we're providing the landscape, we're providing the bike racks, and we're providing seating area for pedestrians.
So if there's a seating area, I think the concern is that perhaps people that shouldn't be there might come there at night.
That's right.
In which case maybe it would make sense to leave those lights on dawn to dusk instead. That make more sense or be agreeable.
We're very agreeable to that. Yeah, we can work with your team on either those specific decorative lights being on for those hours. Make sure that no one is, doing anything or being in that area when they shouldn't be. Yes, we can certainly work with that.
Is there anybody monitoring the site, even remotely, overnight?
We do not have video surveillance. I do not believe we have folks coming around at night as well.
So you might want to
I
have
mean, what do you
video
think about
surveillance
that?
because we have had issues with some vagrants in the front around the Trader Joe's lot area.
We can certainly install a CCTV camera to keep monitor that area.
One thing I've done, we could do a consult with the police department on that, also to see what they recommend, on that. Not gonna be a make or break issue for us, we're having to talk to them, what do they think?
It's just different to have a building, the stores are all closed and locked, that's one thing, but now you have a seating area that until just now was gonna be dark. I think it just needs some more control, and certainly a meeting with the police is advised.
Is Barry serving coffee? Like, where's the coffee coming?
It was a figurative sense. Barry's is, I don't think they're serving coffee, the representatives is here, just if people wanted to sit out there, it could be with their water bottles. It was a figurative.
You do have a.
Kira, you gotta come up and you're sworn, come on up.
So we do
Tell the
have-
board your name.
I'm sorry, I'm Akira Bryson. I build berries, so I travel across the country, build all the berries out. So we have 3 different offerings for berries. Right now, this is called Suburban Drive. It's hit or miss as to whether or not we have a juice bar. So I'm not sure if we're having, so if anyone's sitting, it's typically we'll have a juice bar. I do not think we have a juice bar for this particular location. So.
So if there's no juice bar, you don't usually do this patio element?
No, and I don't wanna, these guys have a different, I guess, goal with their development, but, and if you have questions for me, typically our customers come in and they're out, because we have it by class, so there's not a lot of loitering for us, and typically want you in and out, so. But I'm happy to answer any questions, but I don't wanna mess up how they're planning.
We appreciate that.
So.
Okay.
If I could just suggest, I think it may be helpful for the board, and Mr. Cohen's comment in particular, page sheet 6 of your site plan filing is a landscape and lighting plan which depicts the location of the benches. May be helpful, I don't know. if
Rob,
you
you
have
have
the board
page 6 mounted?
Or
I can grab
you wanna refer to that for the board. But it depicts the bench locations and the decorative light fixtures and location due to.
I think, it says you probably won't have a juice bar, if you do, then that would raise issues around what kind of trash receptacles you have in the patio. So that people can throw out their coffee cups or their juice cups.
It's a good point, Mr. Cohen. They should provide trash receptacles regardless. You have a gathering area. At least give them the opportunity to throw their stuff away, whether they do or not, obviously, is up for guests.
No problem.
Gotta step on the trash yourself. On the pedestrian plaza.
Thank you.
Looks like 4 benches in total.
Okay, so, this is sheet 6, it's part of your package. You got a last revision date, to, what do you got here?
February 16th, 2026.
Appreciate staff and getting us on, getting the DRC, we're here quickly, so that's appreciated.
So it looks like there's a total of 4 benches that are proposed, is that correct?
Thank you, Graham.
Correct. Within the 2 seating areas here and here.
Well, the question is on the engineering site plan, you point to both of those areas as areas of the bike racks.
That was revised in our latest submission.
On February 16th plans. You look
It
at
was, I think
sheet
there was
4.
another plan, not one sheet was revised. Submitted. I think,
Yeah.
we submitted February, we added the bike rack on
To
February
clarify,
18th.
To clarify, the bike rack will be located here and the seating areas will be located in the former
Okay.
submission where we were saying the bike rack.
Yeah, you're my file, Mr. Keller. So we cleaned that up after the DRC meeting.
February 18th, okay.
We cleaned that up.
All right. All right, well, there goes that question.
If I could just ask, as depicted on the February 18th submission for the bike rack, you're depicting retaining one of existing light reset to proposed grade.
That's a typo. The existing light is not to be placed at the proposed grade, it's being eliminated.
It's being eliminated now, okay, because, yeah, I just wanted to spread it up with the rendering now, just shows the 3 decorative. So the only light fixtures in this proposed patio area are just those 3 decorative fixtures.
Correct.
And just also for the benefit of the board, there's a detail sheet on the last page of the site plan submission that shows the fixture style.
Just, well, Mr. McDonald had testified that the lights go off at midnight. Is that every light in the entire center?
Yes, that is correct.
So the entire center is dark?
Correct.
Okay.
You want security level lighting overnight?
Well, I mean, generally, you know, that's the practice that I've always followed is you want some level of lighting that the police can monitor and the owner can monitor conditions, you know, in the lot. You know, it's a balance between protecting the residents from the light levels. All the fixtures out there are LED. I'm sure they relamped all that stuff, which is nice. They are very bright. I'm sure you all know that.
Do they have residential shield guards? Side guards?
You don't normally do that with LEDs.
Are they downward directed?
They are all downward directed. They're full cutoff. But I mean, they're 25, 30 feet in the air. You know, they're tall lights, which is typical in a commercial shopping center. But they are bright. Now, I don't know if they have the controls. I don't know what their control system is, and, you know, if they're willing, I think they should evaluate that. There's also with LEDs, if they have the right technology to go with them, that those lights are dimmable. So
you dim them down to the security level.
Yeah,
at midnight.
you know, and I wouldn't, certain lights would go off. I would ask them to submit a plan for a security lighting based upon what circuitry and light controls that they have.
Agreeable. My client is nodding. We appreciate the suggestions. Be hopeful that's something we could do as a condition of approval to work with your designated person and the police department. Makes sense.
I'd still like the plaza area lights to be a little dimmer. You know, I mean, they have 48-watt LED fixtures there. That's a pretty high wattage for an LED fixture.
Maybe the security level lighting condition would extend to the decorative lighting on the pedestrian plaza as well.
And you could probably get away with just one of the middle light being on overnight at a
We
lower
made it all
level. But
subject to the review and approval of our engineer and police department. They're reasonable in their reasonable discretion, which is always reasonable.
That's fine. This is not a, you know, we want to work with the community and you know.
Mr. Skolnick knows I'm a reasonable guy.
We could always come back if we can't get to a solution, but that's fair. My client is nodded, they happy to make those upgrades and appreciate the suggestions.
We got the stipulation, excuse me, thank you.
How wide is it from, the building where Barry's is to curbside? Roughly.
You're saying from Barry's here to here? Correct, I can get you that answer.
Yeah,
in a
just-
moment.
Roughly. Cause I heard the usage, I'm not clear, like, why do you need so much space? It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, it's just
Appreciate
curious.
that.
So that's
We'll
something
take, we're gonna take
to me,
that.
it's- if you have the trade-off between parking spaces and it looking nice, it's tough eliminating those overflow parking spaces.
Approximately.
About 60 feet.
You have to wonder the practicality though, because normally the overflow, with Trader Joe's parking lot down below, that would not have enough space, and if you're going grocery shopping and you have your cart, you're not gonna drag the cart up the stairs, so.
No, but a lot of
How
people
much
do
overflow
park in
there is.
those spots that are being eliminated.
Like, we'll have to see the parking report to see who that is.
One more question on the lighting, back to uniformity. You said it was, the average was 5, and we have a requirement of 1.
The average is 5.39, where 1 is the maximum allowed. And as I state, it's a pretty ambitious requirement to.
So can you describe in non-numerical terms, maybe graphical terms, what the difference between the 1 and the 5 is? Because we're talking about safety before, and my understanding of uniformity is that you want a balance of light, so your eyes don't have to adjust as you're walking around and you can see stuff, like you're not looking at 2 distinct levels of lighting. So what does the 5.3 mean?
So we're talking about the minimum, the maximum uniformity, that is 5.93, where 3 is the max. So it's not as, complicated as the 1 that you stated for the average.
Right, but so. Yeah, my concern is just that it varies too much, right? That would be the average in the area. So. Why is 5 okay and 1 is just way too extravagant?
As an ordinate, why do you think 1 is
For the-
what Mr. Keller
for
calls
the
it
average,
aspirational? It's very, very aggressive.
yes, it's aggressive to trying to maintain 1 foot candle.
Why? Gotta explain why.
Because it would require the engineering behind putting lights across this area. It's putting 1 in this area for the uniformity would increase the uniformity instead of decreasing it. So the 3 are there to keep things more uniform. However, for the average, the 5.39, the 1 is just very aggressive. You would really have to spread out the lane.
Right, so if you added another post and decreased the intensity, would that help with the uniformity? Instead of 3, go to 4.
That would be ambitious to find a working light. However, we can work with Mr. Keller on providing the lighting plan that he suggested.
I mean, having more fixtures is going to even out the bright spots and the dark spots. Mr. Halbert, that's a uniformity. Is bright areas to low areas by having more, the lower level of illumination will help even that out. 1 foot candle average over a parking lot is really pretty dim. Retailers especially want something more like 5 and 6 for an average.
Okay.
The uniformity is just a matter of having a more, even, so you don't have really bright spots and then dark spots. Because our eyes don't adapt to that. Drive along the highway and you get to an interchange and it's really bright. And then you come out of it and it's like, I can't see anything. So by having a more evenness to the illumination throughout the parking lot, that's a uniformity, which is easier on the eyes. So I think by going to one more fixture or a different optic in the fixtures, the decorative having kind of a circular area in there. I mean, there's different things. LEDs are wonderful when it comes to managing where light goes. There's all kinds of different optics. The old style lights did it with reflectors. The LEDs do it by the technology of the individual diode. Makes it much, much more efficient and easier to control. So, but I'm happy to work with the applicant on that.
So if you had that stipulation that we were talking about earlier, would that cover?
Well, that's where I was going. It was more towards the security level lighting, but if we could extend that stipulation to the lighting on the pedestrian plaza in its entirety, that same reasonableness and the same monitors our engineer and our police department, or at least our engineer with respect to lighting beyond the security level. Because what I'm hearing is it may be one more fixture, and they may be all four at a lower level than the three, is what I'm.
Right, lower wattage, brings the overall light level down a little bit and improves the uniformity.
So would the applicant stipulate to that, assuming the board wants to take that stipulation
Yes,
and put it in the hands of our engineer?
Yes, we're gonna, we need to talk to the police because they may want a little more. We're gonna look at, the overnight and the security lighting and try to get a reasonable bound so we don't have too much and certainly not impacting the neighbors.
We'll bundle that into one stipulation, and I'm hearing that the applicant is willing to stipulate to it.
I do have a question. I'm sure Mr. Kelly took into consideration the stairs. Is that correct? And is there enough light, and will that also be considered?
I think after going through the parking lot the night before the meeting, instead of looking at it during the day when the lights are off, I think that, and that would be part of the plan, is that we make sure that one of the security lights, if we can do that, and at least we could do it is that it's by the stairs. So, as engineers, unfortunately, we have to kind of design, and don't take this the wrong way, we're stupid. And having people do something that they probably shouldn't, but if they do it and you didn't provide for lighting, then it's your fault, not theirs, for doing something stupid.
On the note of doing something stupid, what's the surface going to be, the actual paved surface of the patio area? Because right now it looks like a really fun little skate park.
You're asking the material, is that what?
Yeah, the actual material underfoot that you're gonna be walking on, not the grass, but
It's going to be concrete, similar to sidewalk.
okay, so it's gonna be smooth.
Yes.
So you're gonna get skateboards, especially when you've got like rails on your stairs and things like that. Just a thought,
I
in terms of
can't- I
people
can't
doing something
promise you
stupid that
that.
we might be liable for, that's all.
That's why they have insurance.
Yeah, okay, just maybe the surface could be pebbled or something, it's much less fun to ride your skateboard on. Just a thought.
For some people.
I don't know how many skateboarders, do you see them around town? 'Cause I don't.
We don't get them.
Realistically, it's.
Wyoming, Wyoming, there's a blacktop at Wyoming.
Which is where this is.
I mean, it'll be fun.
I did have one more question. Just regarding, I know you had made a statement regarding a fence enclosure around the trash compactors. That's not depicted on the plan, so I just wanted to get some more details of that on the record.
Right,
Maybe
we can provide we can update our plans for a fence Probably board on board.
Board on board, okay, wood fence. Would recommend the 6 foot high, would that be sufficient to shield the compactors, do you think? 6 foot fence?
My client is not,
Okay,
that makes
that's
some
good.
sense.
And the configuration of the compactors and the fences in this location, there are some adjacent parking spaces. Just more of a question, should the fence be protected by bollards or anything? So, a wood fence could be subject to damage a car, kind of pulling into space adjacent. Just kind of a question regarding that for protection of that fence.
That's fine as well.
And on that, you may want to add a man gate, because if they're putting in they're putting their trash or whatever into the compactor at the back. Depending on how, and that's a discussion with your client on getting in there so that they're not walking between the compactors or whatever. That's an operational thing for them. I just, ask you to consider that as part of the design. Would there be gates across the front to close it in, or would you just have it, so that the trucks could just back up to it? And maybe that's a question better suited for Mr.
Yeah,
McDonald.
maybe if we have a break or something like that.
Okay,
So I
all right,
think
that's fine.
That's, you're curious about that,
I mean, it is tucked away in the back corner of parking lot. Generally, we like compactors, dumpsters to be screened so that people don't see them. It will certainly be an improvement over what's there today. Gates tend to, especially if you're talking about a wood fence, the dumpster companies will destroy those. So you may want to, if you decide to put them in, do something different than a wood fence. They will.
Okay, we appreciate that suggestion.
And that would be even worse to have a gate hanging there. I do have a couple other questions that the board has done.
Before you go on,
Yeah.
can I ask a question about the
Absolutely.
compactors? Which tenants will be using those? Will Trader Joe's continue their normal waste disposal method? Okay, so it's just the tenants on the top, I suppose. Is that correct? Excellent. And the intent of putting in the compactors, is it to hold garbage longer? Or is it just to control the volume?
Riley,
It's to control and clean up just the few dumpsters that we have kind of across that back area today, consolidate, make it cleaner, more compact.
Thank you. All yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'm not gonna go through my letter, you've covered most of it, and you said you would cover all. You do have a concern about, there is a trench drain at what was the entrance to Motion Fitness. The plans call for that to be removed, but that sidewalk still slopes from the parking lot towards the building. I know you've tried to grade it to go to the right. I'll call that, north is up. Where, on your plan, okay, so you're trying to grade it to the right, but with a flush curb in that parking lot sheeting towards that area, I'm just concerned that you're gonna get runoff through the parking lot.
we have no problem in satisfying your concern.
So however you're gonna do it, you're gonna do something.
Yeah.
Okay.
We take care of that water for you.
I think that's a simple stormwater thing that I have no problem in working with them on dealing with. So, I don't know, where does that trench drain go today? Do you know?
It's unknown, it wasn't picked up in the survey, however, we can have it verified by contractors.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So the reason that I asked about removing that shrub down by the loading area.
Back on the shrub.
At Trader
We said
Joe.
we would remove it, because we didn't want to spend time on it. It's up to
Fine,
you.
okay, then if you're gonna remove
We
it,
said we'd remove it.
I'm done. Last thing, back up top. ADA parking. There's ADA parking to the west of that area. Which you have the medical, the surgical center and the medical office space there. I see that, and this came up at the DRC meeting about punching through that landscape area between the doctor's office and Motion Fitness. What's the slope on that area there?
I don't have an answer I can find you an answer, maybe while one of the other professionals is testifying.
Okay.
However, it is with under 8.33 or 1 over.
Okay.
It's an ADA compliant.
The only point is if it's over 5%, you need railings.
Yes.
Okay.
We can provide it.
You could provide railings, you provide additional detail. Okay.
That's really a code issue, isn't it?
It's outside the building, so it may be a code issue, but it's my issue too.
Okay.
Is there a need for, because you're now adding tenant access in this northeast corner of the building where there was limited access before? Is there a need for a redistribution or an addition of ADA parking spaces in that area?
So to provide due to the site constraints, it's really tough to provide ADA compliant parking elsewhere to give a path to travel to the tenants on the upper part. The slope of the parking area is.
So the existing parking area that's remaining is greater than 2%.
Correct.
Okay, and
Outside of the path of travel
okay,
from here to the.
okay, so the ADA spaces to the west of these tenant spaces would be the appropriate and most convenient space to provide a compliant ADA parking.
Correct.
Okay. Last point, you indicated that you're not a major development under stormwater and your impervious coverage is remaining generally the same. Is that correct? Okay. Is there a change though in the impervious coverage that you're providing? You're taking out parking spaces and replacing it with sidewalk, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there is a marginal improvement in water quality because now you're taking out regulated motor vehicle space. Correct?
That's good for us, right?
It's a good thing. Nice job, Ray.
That was a bone.
Yeah, that was a softball, since I beat on you
I
about the
wasn't sure, I
scrub.
was wavering on whether that was good, until I go for it.
He giveth and he taketh away.
It was a leading question, I didn't know the answer.
I'm equal opportunity.
I have a couple more for you, if I don't mind. Did the ADA ramp take up or any parking spaces, or was that just done on the sidewalk?
The ADA ramp, I believe you're talking about connecting the existing sidewalk by the ADA spaces here is not eating up any parking spaces. It's connecting to spots
Okay.
through where the previous landscape area.
And then my last question is on the space that was added down by the truck.
Loading.
Loading area, yeah. Did you guys look at maneuverability of all the trucks, garbage trucks, the semis that come in there, and everything is fine with adding that space?
The only movement we looked at was maybe a fire truck through here, but we could provide movement for.
Yeah, just check with Trader Joe's or whoever that you're gonna use that space, because that space is already very clogged when they do bring trucks in and out of there. So make sure it works. Anybody else have any other questions? Oh, I did have one more. Is there a retaining wall for the new plaza? Is it over 6 feet?
Yes.
Do we have to have a variance for that?
Yes.
Oh, retaining walls of fence, or
Yeah, retaining
whatever the
walls,
same.
yeah.
So you said, yes, it is over 6 feet?
Yes, it is over 60, yeah. Yeah, was that height depicted? I didn't see that height depicted, the height that wall.
Yeah, it's on here. It's 13, 13.5 feet at its maximum. And that's along the loading area.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
security railing on top, right?
Right. Yeah, which you need to depict on the plans.
Right.
Fall protection.
Okay.
It'll be depicted and it's also an additional bulk variance
Correct.
of 13.5 feet.
Mr. Keller, you could offer some comments, you know.
And just for clarification for the board and everyone else, the additional amendments that were made earlier by Mr. Skolnick on behalf of his client, as well as this additional bulk variance, those are all covered within the catch-all language of the notice provisions, so the board retains jurisdiction as the same, and no further notice or anything needs to be done.
Just for the benefit of everyone here, it's DRZ 609.6 subsection B.
609
609.6 B.
B. Got it.
And just one other thing on the retaining wall. Please put a note on the plans that it requires a building permit.
Okay, we get it.
Because
Anything over 4 foot and higher requires a building permit. So. Some people forget that.
It'll be in the condition.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public?
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, that would include any questions of the other gentleman who continued testimony, as well as our one representative from the tenant. Any testimony that was given, any members of the public may ask questions.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Murray, appreciate it.
Kind of go longer than we thought, but just moving on to our next witness, our parking expert, Michelle Bryoff from Colliers. Okay, Michelle, you're under oath. Can you provide your professional qualifications?
Sure, Michelle Bryhoff, I am licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. My license is in good standing. I graduated from Northeastern University in 2008 with a degree in civil and environmental engineering. And I have been working for Colliers, which was formerly known as Major Consulting, since 2013, and I'm currently the geographic discipline leader for traffic.
Have you testified before planning and zoning boards?
Many of boards. I actually don't think I've been before this board, but I did work with the town on the downtown streetscape projects, a few of them, so I am familiar with Melbourne. But not before the planning or zoning board.
And you've been recognized as an expert in
Yes.
civil engineering and with a traffic expertise.
You're acceptable as a traffic expert in front of this board, thank you.
Okay, and Colliers prepared a report, you heard some comments, give a general overview and then, talk about the issues that are gonna be faced here and your opinion as to safety and feasibility.
Sure, so our office did a parking accumulation study, which is where we actually go out there and we survey the actual parking demand that's occurring on the site. Those counts were done on Friday, September 19th. And Saturday, September 20th of 2025. As you mentioned, yes, our counts were done from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Friday and 11 to 3 p.m. on Saturday. What we found for this site as a total is that the maximum peak parking demand occurred on Saturday, the 25th, Saturday the 20th. And that was equivalent to 42% or 243 spaces. So as we've mentioned before, as I will get further into, overall, the site is about 42% occupied at any given time.
As a max.
As a maximum, yes. Now, what I will say with that is that we did break it up into subsections. So we looked at the area that is adjacent to Trader Joe's and to PetSmart. The upper area, when you just get up that staircase, which is this area here, this lot over here, which I refer to as the northern lot, as well as the western lot, where CVS is and the offices and stuff. So we did look at it in a more granular way as well, which I will get into the results of that. But I will remind you that overall, the maximum parking demand is about 42%. as was previously testified, the difference between the previous gym that was there, which was Motion Fitness Club, versus the proposed Barry's Fitness and the Jet Set Pilates, we're looking for an additional 31 spaces when we compare it to the previous fitness use that was there.
That's because that change in the ordinance,
Yes,
which
there's a
increased
change
it.
because the parking demand is more intense for the instructional type classes where you have these 1 hour long classes that you sign up for and you come and then you leave. So it is a little bit more of an intense parking demand. So again, when we compare it to the previous gym that was there versus what we're looking to do with the Barry's and the Jet Set, we're looking for an additional 31 spaces. What I will say is that the parking areas, which just is not gonna be a surprise to anybody here who shops here, is that the parking areas that are adjacent to the Trader Joe's and the PetSmart, as well as the parking area that is at the end of that staircase, do fill up. That was shown in our parking study. Those are occupied, so to speak. There are very few spaces available in those areas. However, this northern parking lot here, it fills up to about 29%. So again, anybody who's been there knows that that parking area is very underutilized. There are a significant number of parking spaces in that area. So we feel that, again, with the location of the Barry's and the Jet Set Pilates, that lends itself to using the available parking in that lot. I think that's further, I don't wanna beat a dead horse with the patio area, but having that patio area, having kind of that entranceway into those uses, again, kind of lends itself to use that parking area that is very underutilized currently. For the most part, again, I think that with the parking that we're asking for, the maximum parking demand, I said 42%, that's 243 spaces. We're looking now, I don't wanna do math on the fly, but I think we're looking for, I guess, 564.
That's what we'll end up with.
We'll end up with 564. So again, with the actual parking that's there, the 564 versus the actual demand of 243, we feel that those additional 31 spaces that we're looking for can easily be accommodated, especially in this northern lot, which is now going to be adjacent to these uses.
Any issues in terms of safety and walking?
I
think, Ms. Nevis's point, people may get pushed out a little bit. Any issues in terms of safety, whether it's a Trader Joe's customer, a Barry's?
I think the improvements again to this patio area, we're expanding that, lighting, landscaping. We're gonna be providing this crosswalk from the stairway to the building. Again, this ADA compliant in the rear of the building. I think that all of these enhancements will lend itself to making the site a little bit more walkable. And really, again, lending itself to these two uses here.
Now, in prepping for the meeting, we took a look at the class schedules, and I don't know that we have to go into this, but a number of the classes are gonna go on 5, 6, 7, 8 a.m.
Yeah.
before Trader Joe's and PetSmart even open, so.
They're mostly on the hour. I know the Pilates, I believe, is, I'm sorry, for Barry's, the classes are actually every 70 minutes to give their classes are 50 minutes long, and they're actually spaced 70 minutes apart, so that actually gives way for people to leave the site and then the new people to come in. We did look at, information from the applicant as far as how many participants they expect per class. We actually found out that with the worst case scenario for Jet Set Pilates and for the Barry's Fitness, that would be a worst case scenario with the employees of about 69 visitors, which I want to point out is actually interesting because your ordinance at the 1 per 100 square feet at that square footage equates to 62 spaces. So your ordinance is actually pretty close to what we are anticipating with information based on the applicants, the actual usage.
As a peak.
As a peak, again, worst case scenario, both classes are filled and all of the, the employees are there, and that's equating to 69 spaces, so to speak. So again, right in line with what your ordinance would would calculate that to be. And really, I mean, that's really the crux of what we did as far as studying the actual parking demand and justifying the parking for this site.
So, we've had space that's been vacant for 5 years.
Yeah.
And we're putting in permitted uses here. And some people at some times of the day are gonna have to walk a little further.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically
That's the
what's.
truth, but from your perspective as an expert in parking and traffic and safety, it's all safe and in accord with standards.
Yeah, I think the improvements that we're making to the site, lend itself to be a more functional space and better for pedestrian access and walkability.
There'll be some times of the day when the classes are quieter, that there'll
Yeah.
be sort of less traffic than some other
I
permitted
think,
use.
from what we understand, again, based on information from the applicants, is that they are very busy in the morning and very busy in the evening, and the middle of the day is kind of, it's just not as busy for these types of, you take your classes either before work or after work, and the middle of the day is a little slower.
So there'll be some times during the day, depending on when the peaks are of Trader Joe's, where there's sort of fewer than some other permitted uses or maybe Motion Fitness had, there'll be some more spots.
Correct, yep.
What time is the last class?
Do you have that on there?
Yep. So both classes, one is 7:30 PM and the other is 7 PM.
That's the last class.
That's the last class, yeah.
Got some nods.
Trader Joe's is still open.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Trader Joe's is 9 to 9, and so is PetSmart.
Have you given any thought to making some of the spaces, is Trader Joe's is really where the chaos happens? Making some of the spots reserved for Trader Joe's customers as opposed to the new tenants?
Charlie?
Charlie, I do want to also add to that before Charlie, that we were also discussing, making sure that the employees for
Right,
PetSmart and Trader Joe's are parking, in this rear of the site where there is available parking. But Charlie, as far as designated spaces.
Yes, as it relates to designating parking spaces for Trader Joe's, unfortunately, we have obligations to the other tenants at the site, and we cannot give Trader Joe's specific parking spaces.
Trader, how about can there be a discussion with the employees?
Oh, sure, yeah, we have a great relationship with the store manager for both Trader Joe's and PetSmart, and can certainly ask that they have their employees park in the area that Michelle had designated in that northern portion of the lot, that is presently 29% occupied at its
That should be
maximum.
all employees, not
Yeah.
just theirs.
And the Barrys and Jensen,
Everybody.
right, all of the employees in that area to park where, in the rear where there is a surplus of parking.
I have a
So,
question about.
So do you know how many employees used to walk or take public transportation or they drive?
I don't have that information. I know that the employees for these sites, for the Jet Set Pilates, for instance, Barry's has approximately 3 to 6 employees. And the Pilates studio, 2 to 3 employees at one time, but on the site at once. So it's not a huge employee, demand. So I don't know how many would walk or take public transportation out. But again, even if they all drove, I'm still confident that there's enough parking here to support that.
My question is, did you look, certainly where Trader Joe's is, the flow, where you have people coming in off of Milburn Avenue in one spot? Was there ever any consideration from anybody about that is the most congested area? I don't think it's so much about parking per se. I think it's more about getting cars in and out of that lower level. I don't know if you do flow kind of analysis.
It wasn't
or-
part of this, again, we
Okay.
were focused on the parking and making, supporting the parking variance and the numbers that we're asking for. We did not look at the flow just because it is an existing center.
So I'd like to say that when I look at this immediately, I think of how it's for flow, not that it's minus the parking spot. People park up there because it gets congested during those very busy times. So even on the corner, adding another road opening permit for, you know, Milburn Avenue for this particular property, I don't know if that's something that's practical or
You lose even more parking.
you would, but I think the problem's not that we don't have enough parking spaces. I believe it's about how the parking flows within those spaces.
And there is generally a constant. Seems like someone's always drinking.
I would say, given the number of times that I've had to park on the upper lot, there is a dearth of parking spaces, so. And I just wanna say that I think one of the reasons that the northern lot is not used is because it's super inconvenient to park back there. And you're taking away the most convenient spots and you can't get parks up there. So you're asking people to walk even further when they're not gonna be able to bring their car down to the lower lot and throw bags into their car. You're gonna be making them walk even further, and I'm still not really clear why this patio is so big when it doesn't sound like you're gonna, that there's gonna be coffee or juice or whatever. As someone who works out, I never linger because I've got like 10 more things to do once I'm done with my workout. So I'm not getting why shoppers at a very, very busy Trader Joe's and PetSmart are gonna be so inconvenienced when it seems to me like that patio, if it needs to exist, doesn't necessarily need to be as big as it is being made to be.
I think you appreciate, it needs to exist minimally because you need to be able to reach the other two stores, so to speak.
Okay.
Right,
But does it
because
need
you
to
have
be
to,
that
there's
big?
only one, like Motion Fitness only had one entrance, so you need some sort of grade issue to get to what I'm gonna call jet set storage. You need to get in there. Chairman, if I may pick up on something that Ms. Canfield said, for observation, you guys could decide if it makes any sense in terms of, you know, where it's crowded. That, the visitors to Barry and Jet Set are very, because they come regularly, they're regular, they're gonna like figure out pretty quickly the path of least resistance. And probably park in that northern lot. That's just, no, you're not buying it.
They're gonna take up the western lot, which means there's gonna be no overflow for Trader Joe's.
They'll go to the space that's most convenient, you know, that's that's normally open. That's what I was trying to convey.
Yeah, they're gonna park. They're gonna take up all these spots, there's gonna be no overflow.
In the morning when they're open. But say they're there Saturday at 10. Aren't they just gonna, they'll know if they're in 11 o'clock class?
They're gonna park the closest, which is.
And they'll wait till a spot opens, if there isn't more than one.
Okay.
I mean, maybe some of these get taken because they're closer than those, but
We're not,
the overflow is gonna disappear.
we're not arguing, and it's self-evident that, you know, there's gonna be a tenant, you know, there's gotta be a tenant. How do we accommodate that in the best way? And that some folks are gonna have to walk a little further. If they don't like that walk, they're not happy, they'll decide to go to Whole Foods or not, you know, or whatever they're, you know, they have to have that from Trader Joe's, they'll have to walk a little further.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, let me ask you, Ms. Fryhoff, if you pull up exhibit A1, please. The existing conditions here. So the lot in the southeast corner at Myrtle and Milburn Avenue is packed. Everybody knows.
Yes.
So people, however they get to that upper lot, say they park, you know, where that sewer easement comes through. They park on the far, you know, someplace up in there. How are they getting from that parking space down to Trader Joe's? What do they have to go through?
Yep, there will be the new patio area, yeah.
Let's talk about what it is today. I'm giving Rick another softball here. For the board to consider, I'm just eliciting facts. So how do they get from that parking space down to Trader Joe's?
Yep, so through the parking lot, through again, these handicap spaces over here. and then down the steps.
So they're walking in a parking lot?
Yep.
Okay, they're walking, okay. Now, whichever exhibit you wanna use. Now, those parking spaces in the northern lot are in the same place, you haven't changed them. How are they getting down to Trader Joe's now?
Right, and that lends itself, I was trying to say that the site would be more walkable and pedestrian friendly, which is creating this scaped area, that's lit, that's paved, and then access to the staircase.
To a wider stair?
Yeah.
But
Right.
walking, I understand you said they'll have to walk a little further. I guess it's, you know, if you're walking back to your car from the Pilates studio, that's one thing, but if you have a whole, you know, cart of groceries, you can't be walking, you know, I mean, how are you supposed to carry that? You can't bring your cart up there. So if you've got all your groceries, what are you supposed to do?
I mean, to be fair, that is exactly what's happening at Trader Joe's. You know, we're not changing the pavement area or the parking spaces in this lower level, which is adjacent to Trader Joe's. So anybody who was previously walking up the stairs will still have to walk up those stairs. Cause you know, this area is gonna stay the same. We're not changing the number of parking, we're actually adding one for big one.
But also the
But-
argument again, like, I don't think we can make an argument that because now there's no tenant there, so everybody gets to use the upper parking lot. I mean, that's kind of unfair, right? We can't. It's not really a valid argument. Once there's a tenant there, or when there was a tenant there previously, presumably that upper parking lot got used more as well.
We appreciate that. When Motion Fitness was there,
Right.
these folks did not, you know, provide.
They have the same
areas.
motivation of getting as close as possible and everything else that.
There's a
applies here. I don't
competition,
think patio
there's a
changes it.
competition for those spaces that are closest to the stairs. When Motion Fitness was there, it will be, you know, it's a convenience. People don't wanna walk. They wanna be as close as possible. If they're pushing a cart, they're gonna keep circling through that lower lot till they find a parking place.
Right, but now they're gonna be 15 fewer
Right.
spots.
Up top,
15
up top,
yeah.
not at the bottom.
No,
So,
I understand,
yeah,
that's what I'm saying,
right.
but you're saying when Motion was there, you know, those spots weren't there, but there were 15 more spots when Motion was there, and those are now, because the fire department, I'm adding in the fire department, which is taking another 3.
We appreciate it.
So I'm just saying, it's not quite the
So
same.
you know what we
We
can do? We
appreciate
can
that. Let me just point
advertise,
out,
you can advertise that if you're in a fitness place, park further away. So then you
Or
get,
buy-
you
or
get, you get extra
Extra
exercise.
staff, extra
Ms.
staff.
Nevis, can I address you? What the undisputed testimony is that there's plenty of parking. Right? There's a parking requirement that is very aggressive. In the board in 2009 granted 580. There is plenty of parking. That's the undisputed, there's plenty of parking. The undisputed testimony is also that what we're proposing is safe. I don't think anybody is disputing that we have a safe, sound design. The point you make is a reasonable one, but it's simply a matter of convenience. And my client is suggesting that for business reasons, they think this is a very good design. I appreciate what you're trying to protect, but we need a parking variance, but there's no dispute here that there's plenty of parking in these parking lots. I don't think anybody is making that argument. And we're also undisputed that it's safe. So we appreciate that you have a different design view, that Trader Joe's, the people who go to Trader Joe's should get to keep their very convenient parking. But I think there's another side that my client is coming to a proposal that's safe, there's adequate parking, and they think it makes sense because they have to balance these other tenants.
This is going with the chair's permission, and I'm sure there'll be a summation.
Fair enough.
And maybe it'll be shorter now. Just a couple of quick questions, if the chair will indulge me, and I apologize if board members still have questions. And even my fellow board professionals, but the 29% underutilization in the northern parking area, that's per the counts that were done back in the fall when the entire upper level tenancy was vacant, correct? Obviously, it would have been more if it wasn't vacant, it was more back, as you were saying, when Motion Fitness was there. Correct? There was a less of a vacancy in part, there were more parking spaces utilized.
Saying
In
at
the
the
northern
time, the
area,
council
when there was a
conducted
tenant
Motion
there.
Fitness was vacant.
Correct, yes,
Yes,
there was
that's-
no.
They haven't been there for 5
For
years.
5 years.
Right, and, right.
So the Trader Joe's customers in essence have been spoiled for the last 5 years, and that there's been extra parking.
Right.
Now they're gonna have to, but our job is not here to make
No,
things more
but I
convenient.
still have the question out there, why is that patio so big?
Because it's beautiful.
Because
Okay.
before it was a wall, you need to have an
Something
entrance to the
green, it's
building.
beautiful, why do we need to have so much parking, it's beautiful.
Well, if I may, I still have a
I can't take
couple-
credit for it.
So factually, that 29% parking rate or vacancy rate, whatever, for the parking, whatever you want to call it, was when it was empty, not when Motion Fitness was there. Also, the planning board reduced the required number of parking spaces at 583 because Motion Fitness was there, or at the time Motion Fitness was there, correct?
Charlie, yeah, Motion Fitness, we thought was there in 2009.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So
I
that
asked
was when there
question.
was a gym that did not have instruction, that generally requires more parking than a gym with instruction was there. So that 583 has to be viewed in a certain way by the board. It was a set when there was a gym without instruction. Now there's a gym with instruction.
Correct.
That is understood to require more parking.
Yes, and we've
Not less.
acknowledged that the parking requirement, if we looked at the parking requirement for Motion Fitness versus the parking requirement for these instructional type
Behind.
uses, we're asking for 31 additional parking
Right.
spaces. If we were just to compare those two
Yeah.
uses.
It goes up to 704, and then I made the comment, we'd like the board to also consider those extra 2.9 or 3, so we could put a medical tenant in there on the other side. Real thing.
So the
707.
presumption is that the planning board 583 would have been a higher number required parking spaces than if if it were an instructional gym or a gym with instructional classes as opposed to a general gym, right?
Well, the ordinance didn't exist then, so it was the same, so you're, like, if the planning board in 2009 knew an ordinance was gonna come into play later, is that what you're asking?
It was a question for the witness, actually. Is it your opinion that the gyms with instruction require more parking?
Yes.
Than gyms without instruction?
The estimated total number of parking to be utilized by the new space, there are 60-something spaces that were testified to earlier.
Yes, so the, between the Jet Set Pilates and Barry's, the ordinance requirement would be 62 spaces.
Right.
We found through discussions with the applicant, based on maximum participants per class, plus the maximum employees per shift, that between those two uses, we're finding that number to be about 69. So
But
roughly.
there's more than 70 spaces vacant in that. upper level.
Exactly, so what we're arguing, or what we're testifying is that the vacancy within this parking area, which is relatively adjacent to the fitness uses, is more than adequate
To cover the employees.
to cover,
For all.
to cover
And
the
the- well, everybody does
participants,
that.
the employees. And again, we are going to ask the Trader Joe's employees, the PetSmart employees, the employees for the fitness uses to all, park in this upper area to hope to alleviate some of the other parking demands in the lower portion.
And the property manager owner, Urban Edge, can require that of those others or
I don't know
only
if
ask?
They can require it, they can use their best efforts.
Because the leases are already in existence, you can't change them now, right?
I think that, and again, to get the practicalities, all of the tenants are gonna have an interest in having their employees. So it's gonna be a little more crowded at certain times. They're gonna have an interest in pressing their employees to the Tallulah a little bit and park up there. So we can use our best efforts, but we can't force a change that's in a lease.
No, understood.
No.
Back to the board members.
To make things easier, would it be possible to do some sort of ramp and you would have to sort of zigzag it to go from the lower lot to the upper lot? Or would Trader Joe's not like that because they probably don't want parks all the way up there?
That, and I think that you're gonna get into more parking.
Yes.
Start
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
just-
gonna
just looking, because I don't know
require-
if there's enough space. to
I don't
do
think
like that.
there's enough space, and if they were to be, if you were to make it enough space, you're gonna lose more.
So I just had a question to the circulation. Assuming one enters the property from the CVS side, at this point in time, you can, and if you wanna go to Barry's, you gotta go up that road. But there is a stop sign there right now and there's a no left turn. And, with most no left turn signs, people still do take the left turn, right? And so, hopefully Barry's is a successful enterprise and there's traffic generated there, but it's conceivable that people might come from the other side, and get out from the CVS side. So the question is, I hope that stop sign as well as the no left turn sign is still gonna be there and.
Yeah, we don't plan on changing the access or internal circulation for the access directly to the site. Obviously, we have some improvements here, but as far as access to and from the site, that will remain as is today.
I just have a house cleaning and for our professionals is currently our parking spaces, when you have two levels like that, would a grocery store, would they have been allowed to go on that lower level with the amount of spaces, or was it the total spaces? And the reason I'm asking is because as we look at zoning, maybe they should be considered in the future, maybe two different, if you don't have access except to climb stairs with the additional parking. So in other words, a current grocery store right now, would that be allowed? And that's something we can discuss later, but for the record, I think we should, this isn't the fault of, this is that we're including all parking spaces instead of looking at the actual levels, and does it make sense to put that kind of retail in a smaller space?
I won't speculate or opine on the future conditions of what
Yeah.
you're referring to, but the way the ordinance is structured now, parking is determined at a site level, but the lot level. So if there is sufficient parking on the lot, and if the parking requirement calculations, felt to be satisfied on the property itself, not locations specific on the property.
Okay.
Allison, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because if we were looking at this now, and it was Trader Joe's that was applying for that space, I think a lot of us would have a lot of serious reservations about allowing that. Now, to the extent that the zoning code allows it, obviously, so that's something we should take to the zoning code examination subcommittee and see if that's something we can fix for the future. But for today, we have to deal
Right,
with.
no, I agree. Just for the record, I think it's something that we should look at.
Agreed.
Yeah.
When does the Trader Joe's place expire?
Charlie, Trader Joe's lease expiration date, if you know?
Oh, I actually don't know that offhand, I apologize.
I mean, if it's within a year or something, we could ask that the lease include a provision that the employees park in the upper lot.
I know it's not that near term, it's maybe 20 to 30 years out.
Will you still be on the board, sir? That's all right. But my client has told me many times, he's represented, I have a good relationship with them. There's gonna be some change and they're happy to have a conversation.
Just confirm that that's correct.
Charlie, you make good faith efforts to work with Trader Joe's, stand up to encourage employees to, park out in the open area.
Absolutely, yes.
It needs to be looked at because in the shopping center, it's well known that in the downtown, it's the employees of the stores that take up all the good spots. So, and how do you enforce that? So, it's not just, it's gonna take more than, please do us a favor, right? It's gonna take more than that.
I agree with you. Trader Joe's is a tenant that as a company, we have good relationships with, both at this property and a few others. A brand new store that opened in Woodbridge, and a few others that I can't disclose but are in the pipeline. We can maybe work some sort of side agreement with one of those other deals if possible.
That'd be great. We appreciate that. We hear you. There's an element of good faith in all these things. It's planning, I think Ms. Canfield has recognized, it's a tricky shopping center with a 5-year vacancy. And we think this is the best way to upgrade it and do something that's nice and a beautiful place. Appreciating the concern that there's gonna be some competition for the spaces.
It's crazy there. I mean, I don't feel, even the times, you were there Saturday, what did you say, 11 to 3? It's nuts over there at that time.
And if you could get back with a date, certainly, always.
We're gonna try to get that.
Thank you.
Just a question on the opposite side of the shopping center, we went from retail to medical space, which increased the number of spaces. Would the same thing happen? Could the same thing happen with the third tenant? Do we need to increase that as well?
If that happened, we have to come back.
Yeah.
If that happened, we have it as general gym now, 1 per 200. So if we go above that, we know we're gonna have to come back at another time. We come back with the classes for that third tenant, that's gonna increase and we're gonna have to make another appearance. So, as an amendment, in front of the board, 2.9 additional spaces over on that side. But if we go to medical, or we go to classes in the third space here, we're gonna have to come back to you for a new parking variance. We're not gonna amend that on the fly.
I suspect you're gonna look for a general gym.
We've heard the concerns of, we've heard my clients here, they've heard of the concerns.
One more thing, I'm sorry, do you don't have any numbers for anticipated bike rides for gyms? Figure in there or figure out how many actual bike racks we need?
I don't.
Okay.
Sorry.
They don't have an ITE for bike rides.
No,
Not
no.
yet.
And honestly, it varies so much, for geographics, like where places that are bike pole versus not bike pole. So I don't have anything for this.
If whatever you guys can do for biking around there, I use
Yeah.
my bike as well. I like to take my backpack, Trader Joe's, I go every day, get my supplies for dinner, whatever, and I take my bike, but I don't work for it. So anyway, that's just an anecdote. Do you guys have any more questions? Are there any questions from the public?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Everyone, take a break for 5, and I keep going?
Keep going.
Let's keep going. Okay, I'm leaving 1 minute to talk about the EVs. Mr. Keller? You're under oath still?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you're here as a planner tonight?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Chairman, I know that he's been qualified previously.
License remains in good standing, correct?
It is. I just took another 14 credits, so I'm ready to renew.
And
Okay, Rich, we talked.
Yeah, Rich, you are, sorry, Mr. Keller, you are acceptable for this board as just a planner this evening?
I never really take off my engineering hat, but
As a professional
my
planner?
primary purpose is to do planning tests.
Thank you.
And you've looked at the architectural plans that have all the details on the signage, Rich?
That's correct.
Okay, and I'm gonna sit down for a few minutes while you go through the variance. Okay. I have one more thing.
First thing I want to do is just clarify a few things that I hadn't seen. I was kind of getting late, so I hadn't seen this exhibit. Mine was very similar. It's good to draw on it a little bit. And so this would be
did we only do 2? We're up to 3.
that's today's date. So this is an aerial photograph of the site similar to the last one. Last activity you saw, it's taken from nearmap.com. It's taken on a Wednesday, roughly mid-afternoon, and that would be March, capture date was March 19th, 2025. Site basically is as it exists today. We superimposed over that, the property lines on,
we also superimpose the 3 tenant spaces and the extent of the plaza as it overlaps on the parking. And so obviously, as was discussed, they're looking to convert 11,032 square feet of what was Motion Fitness. There's really no way to get a tenant 70, 80 feet back in through a narrow corridor. And the only way to really do that was to open up that facade. There is one that's a little circuitous, tenant space 3, they'll come in, walk down a hallway, and then open into 4,600 square feet roughly. And the other 2 tenant spaces for Barry's and the Pilates really have more presence on that new plaza we're creating. I will say that couple of things happens when we're trying to open up doors at grade into these 2 tenant spaces. Right now, that floor is considerably higher than the existing parking lot. So part of the purpose of this plaza is also to mitigate that grade through a couple of steps, as well as sloping areas, to allow us to get from the parking lot up to at grade entrances that face roughly the east. So when you ask why is that plaza so deep, part of it is to mitigate that slope. The other purpose was intentionally to incorporate the stairs into the plaza so that you're no longer walking between striped area for handicap and or fire zone. So you really separate it. So you're walking up into this plaza area, coming up, you're coming down a series of stairs that's running along the new retaining wall. So it's natural grade, just like you see now on the right side. As you're going up on the left, you have a wall that holds up that plaza. The plaza, I started working on this property in 1983 to 85 when Erwin Ackerman bought it from Lord & Taylor. At the time, they worked with a world-renowned architect to do almost like a little high-end mini mall. 1988 economy killed that, so we came back and we put the time Whole Foods took 32,000 square feet from Low and 11, which was now PetSmart, and the Trader Joe's. When this was approved, by the way, Trader Joe's was not very successful. They were in Westfield. We had when Whole Foods moved out and wanted to do a 60,000 square feet space, Trader Joe's only wanted half of it. My wife actually did the demising plan to show Trader Joe's how they could actually use one loading dock with PetSmart. And then we finally convinced the owner. We took him. Erwin Ackerman took him to Westfield. He still wasn't convinced that Trader Joe's would be successful. I think he was off on that one. But clearly, they took that roughly half that part, 16,000 square feet, and they've been wildly successful and they get more successful every year. So when we talk about how did a supermarket get there, actually, this is half the size of what Whole Foods was, but it was a different day. With regard to the access, there are access points on the west side of the building, east side of the building. Ms. Canfield's comment about, there is a circulation problem at this entrance. Unfortunately, you can't move that driveway any further. First of all, you want driveways to be as far away from intersections so you don't cause conflicts in turning movements between people entering and exiting and Myrtle Avenue. But also, you've got significant topographic change because Milburn Avenue is dropping. So this is the only at-grade place where you can actually put a driveway. Anything further, besides the fact that you lose 6 to 8 spaces to do that, you'd also be, it's an uneasy circulation pattern, but you would really kill it if you tried to move the driveway further up. We looked back in 1988, and again, when Whole Foods moved in, and again in roughly 95 or something like that, we looked at it. There's really no way to get better circulation up in there. And it is true that over time, the upper lot has become the overflow. It does not accommodate grocery carts. I will say where we're losing spaces, you can see we're losing 4 existing spaces for the plaza extending. We're losing 4 spaces in the striped area, handicapped area, or it's not really handicapped, it's just striped for fire lane. We're losing 4 there. The fire department has asked us to take out 3. And these spaces, if you parked in the next row up, I'm pointing them to the second row parking along with the parking that's off of the main drive on the north side of the building. These are actually undersized because they're radial, the narrowest dimension is undersized. What they're doing is they're respacing those and we're losing 2 on each of those. So they're really making the existing parking safer and less likely to have door things, et cetera. So we're losing 4, and 4 is 8, 2 is 10, another 2 is 12, and then we're losing 2 up in the area, the dumpster area, so it goes to 14, and then we're adding 1 space at the bottom. So we're not picking the parking out on any, but we're adding 1 space at the bottom for +1. So the net is 15 that we're losing. 2 in the west, 2 just to make it a lot safer, 4, 4, and then 3 at the request of the fire department, which I think if we came in for something on the CVS side, I think the fire department would still come over and say, you know what, we've never been comfortable with the proximity of the parking lot to the building, so we'd like you to lose 3 there. So I think this is a safety issue, the 3 is a safety issue that we really don't want to argue. Fire department, they don't put their apparatus close to the building, but they know how they're gonna fight a fire. And we're giving them a lot more room for the fact that they've asked for that. I think it's almost automatic. They would ask for 3 spaces to come out on the existing lot. So not all the spaces are coming out in this area. Some are being done, 4 of them are being lost just to make it better parking. So the variance requested regarding parking is for the number of spaces. As was indicated, 704 is required. We don't consider the little medical office area. If we take out the 4 for the 3 that the fire department has requested, then we go from removal of 16 total spaces, which is a 19 space deficiency from the prior approval. Obviously, those numbers don't quite work, as Mr. Warner was saying, and I think our traffic expert has indicated, because there is a net increase due to the shift. But I think what's been clear to us, because we've looked at this upper parking lot for the last 15 years, is that once you cross that drive aisle, there's a significant amount of spaces. There's also a fair amount of spaces on the east end of that area. So, you know, I used to have these conversations with the mayor, Sandy Hamoff, who said we don't really have a downtown parking problem. We have a proximity problem, where people can't park as close as they want, or we have sometimes a perception problem. It's not actually as bad as they think. And that's why I park downtown every day. I go for lunch or I go for coffee. And I've always found that sometimes I have to walk further than I want to. My wife never pulls in this lot because it's crazy, and she just drives right up to Myrtle, takes the left, and comes into what's ever available. So I think people have gotten used to it. And if I or my wife knows we're gonna do a heavy shop, we don't go during the rush hours. We don't park up here. Otherwise, we just deal with heavy bags. If we're doing a large shop, we will find a spot at an off hour, park in the lower lot, and service us. Look, it's in the owner's best interest to make sure that the Trader Joe's is happy for that 30-year lease. And I think we're actually adding 1 space below. We can't do anything but circulation. I think actually the suggestion of removing the large shrub bush that's at the bottom is a good one, because people do coalesce in that hangout area where they're not supposed to. But they really can't see when their spouse comes out. And so while I don't encourage people parking there, it actually limits visibility for people who are moving out of there. So I think it's actually a good idea to remove that. It just frees up a little more visibility. And I think part of the problem in that lot is visibility. So with regard to the parking spaces, we are a 19 space deficiency from the prior approval. With regard to we also need, I'll go to part of your package. This is the architect's sheet number A1. I have this dated 12/13/2026. It was prepared by Gruskin Architecture and Design in Sydney.
So what's the title of it?
There's Milton Gateway Center proposed wall graphics signage for new / existing tenants. So again, here's that demising plan of the 4,000, the varies, 2,200 for Pilates, and the remaining 4,832 for the unnamed tenant, which we've taken the belief that given the fact that most new uses are experiential and not pure retail, so we've taken we've assessed it at the higher rate of a gym with class. So we're just assuming that We've been a little
No,
conservative.
just the gym, Rich.
I'm sorry,
Just the gym, not the class.
So, we've kind of made the assessment that it's not gonna be retail, that it's gonna be a slightly higher, component for gym. The existing signage on the building, there are, signs on the front that are 24 inches, in height for both Trader Joe's and, PetSmart. On the east facing facade, the Trader Joe's letters, and this may be slightly different from the architect's plan, we actually measured them today. The Trader Joe's letters are exactly 2 feet. And if you move over to the PetSmart, actually, each of the letters is actually 2 feet. Technically, the way we calculate graphics now with the little swag and the circle and the dip, it's actually that signage would be technically considered 4.85 feet in height. That's the existing PetSmart height. Although each of the letters is 2 feet, and I think it's probably just the way that it was calculated back in the day when it was approved. The upper area, the motion fitness has been removed from both facades. What we have now is a rather blank facade. This really is the most banal facade on the building possible, except in the right around the corner facing elevated Wyoming Avenue. We've got another loading dock, but this area here is a very large blank facade. Keep in mind that this is the upper level relative to the primary Trader Joe's and PetSmart. This actually feels like a first floor. So whether we call this a first floor, and that's a lower floor, or this first floor, second floor, the signage that goes up in here, we've applied for some variances because signs can't be above the first floor level. If we're considering the lower plaza be first floor, we've got some signage that's above that level. So we're looking for deviations or variances for both the height of the letters as well as the location being technically above the first floor line. With regard to the actual signage proposed, I'll go to the Gruskin Group's A2. This is again, Milburn Gateway Center proposed wall graphic signage for new existing tenants, sheet A2, dated 2/13/2026. You can see if we start at the part of the property that's facing Milburn Avenue, these signs are compliant, but what that face now, they're at 2 feet. They are looking to move those actually the sign G is the PetSmart. PetSmart, again, the letters are 2 feet. The overall signage comes out to 3'7" because of the little tail and the bullet, but the letters themselves are 2 feet. So we're looking to take those, move them up the facade where motion was at a much larger size. That was actually close to 8 feet, I think, with all of the graphics on it. So we're looking at taking the Trader Joe's and PetSmart, moving to the upper facade, and we're looking at providing sign H, I, and J.
Those are 2 feet, the H, I, and J would just be 2 feet.
Yep.
Okay.
As I was just about to say, the signs that we're proposing for H, I, and J are for the new tenants up in the back, and those are all fully conforming at 2 feet. So there's no variances needed for the sign of the sign and proposed signage, nor the location of the signage for the new, but we are bumping a couple signs up into that second floor level. So again, replacing a much larger motion fitness with the Trader Joe's coming up, and then the 3 upper level tenants appearing in lieu of the existing Trader Joe's PetSmart locations. If we come around the side and we start looking at here's the PetSmart, we've got the loading area. I think this is a good exhibit of how we're taking that lawn area and we're filling that with a retaining wall. It does require variance. So we're filling that area to extend that plaza. We can extend out to get access, both access and window visibility into these spaces to make them attractive tenant spaces. So this, you can see the new plaza infill is kind of highlighted in this drawing. And so with regard to the proposed signs, we're looking to replicate the exact height that was approved in 2009 for PetSmart and Trader Joe's for getting the Dippy Doo in the circle. We're looking at providing 3 feet by 15 for the Pilates, the unnamed tenant, and then obviously for the Barry's, we're looking for a sign that is 3 feet, 3 foot letters, and 25.5 feet overall length. I would point out, as is shown on the allowed wall graphics area, we are considerably under what's permitted by code. So these signs could be longer, or we could separate them and move one up higher and one down lower. There's things that we could do to possibly try to get around the ordinance, but the reality is these are really the most attractive signs. The signs are really appropriately scaled to the building facade, which is why the board approved that 3-foot height back in 2009. The applicant at that time, 42 or 46 inches, I think, and the board denied that, but they felt 36 inch was appropriate, given the 360 feet from this facade to the nearest residential dwelling across Myrtle Avenue. And from the first place you can actually see this part of the building as you're coming west on Milburn Avenue, it's over 400 feet away. Actually, it's not around my door. Yeah, it's 460 feet. So I went out today, and the first place was you're coming west on Milburn Avenue, basically the driver's side of the right lane. It's 460 feet where you can see the farther side. You're about 75 to 80 feet before Myrtle, so you have visibility. You can see it framed in the distance. You can either decelerate and make the turn and come in, or if you see it, you can come back. Hopefully you don't go this way, or you can continue around, circumnavigate the site clockwise to find the parking up above. So given these distances, 460 feet, 360 feet, 370 feet actually from this sign to the closest part of the canopy on the closest residence, that's actually looking through some landscaping as well. But everybody else further up on Myrtle is looking through landscaping. So given the distance, I think that's why the board approved the 3 feet. We feel it's still appropriate today. I did the planning for that. I did engineering for that back in the 2009 application.
Rich, does that fall into the C1 or C2 basket of proofs?
Right where I'm going right now.
So
So we've got some variances for the location, being above the first floor, and some height. So we see this as being all C2 variances. C2 variances being where the, first of all, keep in mind, C2 does not require a hardship. We always talk about hardship, that's a C1 variance, where it's some hardship created by the property, the topography, a river, whatever, it's the shape of the property. C2 variances do not need a hardship. The board can find the proposed plan with the deviations, advances, if the board can find that the proposed plan with the deviations represents a better planning alternative than a fully conforming one, you would meet the positive criteria. The purposes of the land use law should be advanced by the deviation from the zoning ordinance, and the benefits of the deviations in net should the benefits should substantially outweigh any detriment. Under the purposes of the act that are advanced under municipal land use law 4055 B2, there are about 6 of them that we have advanced. The first is safety. That's A. That's the reason it's first. We believe that first of all, the signage, the size of the letter is the minimum that can be seen from Milburn and Myrtle Avenues to allow motorists to navigate safely into the area of new tenants. Also, the new project does allow for the widening of the steps from roughly 3 foot 2 inches up to 8 feet. They're much more generous, so people can go up and down with their bag and pass each other. Certainly a safer condition. We're actually, as we indicated, we're moving the access to those stairs out of the parking area. 3 access points to get into that stair area to get down, so you're no longer walking through a parking area to get down to that area. Again, that's safer. And then as indicated, we're actually creating a safer parking lot more consistent with the guidelines, the dimensional guidelines in the ordinance by making sure we have 9 feet across all these spaces at the nominal dimension, so we're losing 4 spaces there. So those are really all advancements to safety. The proposed plan in net also promotes general welfare, provides the addition of nationally recognized high quality fitness and wellness brands that will increase foot traffic, as well as support neighboring business and further position Milburn as a desirable destination for shopping, dining, health, and living. I'm reading that directly because I stole that right from Explore Milburn's letter for their review memo for tonight. But I agree with it. And Steve said it better than I did, so I'm not going to quote him and give him credit. These two uses fill places been vacant for 5 years. When you drive by, you see it from the train, it's never good to have vacancies when that's so close to your downtown. Many of them come up those places. The beds, the baths, or the entire building has been empty for close to 6-7 years now. Vacancies don't do anything. And I also, I'll get to that in a second. We also, so that's A in both safety and general welfare. We also advanced G, and that we're providing for a variety of commercial uses to meet the needs of the community and New Jersey citizens in general. There are very few commercial spaces that are large enough and have enough parking to provide this type of high intensity class training use. I have been asking, clients have been asking me for years, I need more space, I need more space. The shops that are in the V4 district in the downtown, they're not large enough and there's absolutely no parking. Other areas, you have to go up onto Morris Avenue to find something that's appropriate. But people are really looking for something that's closer anchored to downtown, closer anchored to the Wyoming section, South Mountain section, so you can encourage people to walk and ride bicycles. I'm still an avid believer, if you put bike racks in, so if you build it, they will come. Unfortunately, I work at JV Fitness a couple times a week, and I work out a couple days at the JCC. I've never seen one person ride a bike yet, but we're still hoping that they will. Maybe Gaston will be they'll be the one to start the movement. But I think that, again, there's an opportunity we're providing for a benefit to the community for a variety of uses. It's a healthy use. We're promoting, we're advancing overall health within the community, providing these kind of spaces. The only other similar piece to Barry's is the Orange Theory, much smaller in scale, much smaller classes, harder to get classes, and they have parking lot that's really severely limited in its dimensions. You park back there, you're gonna get your door taken. And that's part of the reason why we're reconfiguring these 4 spaces. So we're also providing a desirable visual environment through creative techniques and civic design. I love the plaza. Planner, somebody who's used this for years, it does a number of things. It mitigates that slope, and it provides an opportunity for some coalescing. Some people hang out, most people don't afterwards. But besides providing that variety of the topographic change to get into the building, it opens up that whole facade. I think, as was shown, I think this is already in the exhibit, correct?
Yeah, that's in the package.
Okay, this is the package. So as you can see, this part of the building, which I showed you before, which was really on the previous exhibit, which is really kind of blank and banal. You can see the grade change from curb up to, it's hard to see, but there's a kind of 3-foot grade change up to the building level where Motion Fitness was. But it's really the most unattractive. I firmly believe when I take the train, I like to see the back seats of buildings. I like to see them look as good as the fronts. I think this does that. This captures that corner, opens up the corner, opens up the next, allows people to safely maneuver off of the paved area and out to the stairs or up into the buildings. Again, this is sloping up, so you've got some steps, and it slopes up at a reasonable rate, less than 5% to get into the building. So it's handicap accessible once you get to this point. I think it's a great notion to provide access from the handicap that's in front of the rehab place, the physical therapy place. As was indicated, I think people indicated, the parking lot that's further down, it's all greater than 2%. It's anywhere from 3 to 4%. You have to have 2% areas for handicap. So none of that is viable. I think it's a smart move to put it between the old Motion Fitness entrance and the physical therapist.
Rich, Graham pointed out the variance for the height of the wall. Is that sort of part and parcel to the creative civic design here?
Yep, all part of the C2, where on balance, all of these things add up. They're still attractive. That wall is still attractive. And lastly, as indicated in terms of aesthetics, significant upgrade of the building on both the sides of Myrtle Avenue and the train line. We're increasing the green space slightly, at least in terms of planted areas that were visible, and a more attractive landscape plan rather than the very heavy bushes that are part of the building now.
Rich, to wrap up, any impacts on the master plan here?
Last I will say is we're advancing conservation of open space because I'm not gonna let Mr. Not gonna be pushed around here.
It was a hint, Rich, a hint.
We've got a large open area. We could provide, we could put another more than an acre of paved surface on this property and not go over the 85% coverage. To do so would be pointless because we'd be adding pavement to an area where we don't need it, right across from the Myrtle Avenue. So any attempts to meet the parking demand by providing more parking would really be a negative to the residents. So We
And
think
this is
that,
not like saying, speaking of negative criteria would be.
negative criteria, well, we think there is none. There's no substantial detriment to the public good. This only is a benefit, and the architect and the engineer have mitigated away, really any possible negatives. We're agreeing to work with your township engineer, the airport engineer, on the lighting levels. I was the accountant that said it's aspirational. 1 foot candle is aspirational. If you're really even across the whole parking lot, the response is you either make your lights taller and brighter to get more uniformity, or you make them smaller and add a lot more of them. So obviously, we've indicated that we're gonna try to get closer to the town requirements, and uniformity is absolutely most important, much more important than the average brightness. So we're willing to work with the town on that. With regard to the no substantial effect on the zone plan and zoning ordinance, we think this only advances the major master plan goals and objectives. On page 43 of the master plan examination, we still maintain that this promotes the character of the township small suburb of the highest quality. Objective 102 is to promote the appropriate mix of development in other downtown and other commercial areas, which this is, to maintain and enhance economic vitality of the downtown and other business districts, which this is. Objective 4.01, promote opportunities for high quality retail and commercial activity in all business districts. Maintain 402 is maintain a public scale in all appropriate business districts. We think this does. It's very uniformly scaled, as was shown on the drawing list part of your exhibit package. And finally, leverage opportunities for new commercial development or redevelopment of existing properties where appropriate. This building needs some redevelopment, and strengthen the existing business center. So we think that it advances multiple facets of the purposes of the Land Use Act. It requires meet positive criteria under C2. We think it's a better planning alternative than trying to meet some of these requirements, such as signage or parking. We think that in the final analysis, we think net, this is a vast improvement to the site.
And Rich, would 2 new EV spaces, when they're not required, also help to further the public good?
Well, I would say, if you look, Kia just announced they're shelving their next 2 EVs due to lack of interest and tariffs. EVs have not been selling well, certainly in the current economic climate. They're not encouraged. I'm all for EV. My next car will be an EV.
Rich, we got it.
But
Rich,
I think-
Rich, we
I don't know if
offered 2 EV spaces. We got,
I didn't know we'd offer.
yes, that's what I said. We're 2 EV spaces. That's what I said, 2 EV spaces,
I think it's a waste
which
of
we're
money. I
offering,
think it's a waste of money. for it.
help further good. Just a yes or no for me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate that. In conclusion, Rich?
We think it's an opportunity to really improve the site, like net, it's a huge improvement over what's existing. Lighting can be put on sensors so that they can be very low. When someone walks onto the site, they can up to mid to full height. So we can work out the lighting issues for safety, security. We want to create attractive nuisances. Attractive buildings, if they become attractive nuisances, there's ways we can handle that through lighting and other methods. Skateboarders do get them occasionally, but I think we can work with all that. I think it's a great opportunity, and I hope we approve it with the variances requested.
Any questions from the board?
So, yeah, just a quick question. So as you pointed out, if we didn't grant the parking variance, they could just pave over some of the pervious coverage, make more impervious coverage, and
I've got
we
40
would have more unutilized spaces, but we would meet the requirements.
Exactly.
Right?
That's why it's a C2. It's a better plan.
Quick clarification, if I could, the signs on the eastern side of the building, Trader Joe's is 3 feet or 2 feet?
Trader Joe's is the letter to, I'm sorry, the letter to 3 feet.
3 feet,
Yeah,
okay.
it was approved. I'm sorry, I did say that wrong, but it's 3 feet exactly.
3 feet.
Both PetSmart and Trader Joe's letters are.
Okay. Can I cold call you? Scale looks good, 3 feet, berries, jet set, looks good, all right.
Design is this. What kind of building materials are you using? Are those renewable?
We pretty much always try to use sustainable materials, recycle what we can from the existing building. It's just smart and more economical. Always low or actually no VOC paints and raw material, et cetera. All the new HVAC will be, energy star compliant. So to the extent possible, I don't think we're using any, true recycled materials. We're really punching openings or adding some metal canopies. But I think everything inside, just good business practice. Recycling everything.
Any questions from our professionals?
I have none.
Any questions from the public? Right, can we get a summation, please?
Thank you. Chairman, we've addressed, I think, the issues, just, we have our, architect and, Barry's and Jet Set, it doesn't sound like we need further questioning, of that, so I'll wait.
You know what, I'm sorry, one quick thing, my apologies, there were some other reports, just to make sure they're covered on the, record. The fire officials report of February 24, 2026. I assume you're stipulated to all 11?
Yes.
Okay. And we have the Forester, no comment, I'm sorry, Forester species selection.
We addressed that and
You
said
did.
that was the
My
road
apologies.
reason we would work with the forester and
Thank
you're designated to get a different
We got Mr.
selection.
Grillo's
We appreciate
pro-business letter, we got that. The police department, no further concern. And the environmental commission had recommendation, vegetation, waste management, parking, stormwater management, building materials. You've considered those, and to the extent you're stipulating to any, if any, you've already addressed.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything in there. We won't remove Mr. Keller's from.
Right.
Place a
This
plaque.
Mr. Keller shrub, not that.
Yeah,
Mr. Keller.
place a plaque there.
There'll be a plaque for the correct Mr. Keller and Keller, excuse me. And we have our engineer's report, and obviously you satisfied Mr. Petto with respect to his report. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I don't know if you're done yet.
I'm never done, but I'm done now.
Well, that's, does anybody have any discussion items for the board, or should we have Steve kind of sum up what we are going
Oh,
to?
I'll sum it up. I didn't know. Are you done?
When's my summation? We wanted to have, give you some time to get to the next application. I think the board understands what the application is about.
I'll give a run through on the relief sought, the conditions stipulated to as I have them, and anyone and everybody can correct me where I'm wrong or let me know what I missed, including Mr. Stolnik, but no will not be shot. I have the relief as amended preliminary and final site plan approval. Bulk variances for minimum number of parking spaces, 704 technically required, and 560, what was the ultimately, we reduced 564 provided.
Right, and then 704, we went up with that other 2.9.
703, 707 required.
707.
And 564 provided.
After the three
reductions,
from the fire
including the
department.
3 from the fire department. In addition to that, parking variance, maximum facade sign height at 2 feet, permitted 3 feet proposed for the 4 signs. Designated location of signs, graphics may not extend above the second floor line or roof line. But all the signs obviously on the second floor or the upper of the 2 require that variance relief. Minimum number of loading spaces, 2 exist, no change, but 4 required. Minimum parking setback right of way, 20 feet is required, 9.1 exists, and no change proposed. Also, the wall variance, retaining wall variance, 13.5 feet at its highest elevation, and 6 feet maximum permitted, so that's the bulk variance there. As well as the 2 design waivers, minimum
I could just
parking.
pause for a second. Does the 13.5 feet include the height of the security fence at top?
No.
It's the combination.
Do we count the
It's yes, it's a
Add
combination.
Add 4 feet.
So add 4, so 7
Okay.
It
feet.
may not be that high, but make it 4 and we're covered.
Security fence is shown.
7.5
But the height,
proposed.
On the plan.
the total height,
On the plan,
we just
yes.
need that.
Got it.
We just need the total height for the variance.
17.5 proposed to include the guardrail or protective screening above. 6 feet maximum. Those are the variances, site plan waivers or design waivers, minimum parking stall size, a 9 by 18 for existing and one new, 9 by 19 required, an average lighting intensity within security areas, 1.66 versus between 0.5 and 1 foot candle. There were other design waivers stated with respect to illumination, average, etc. I'm gonna rely on the record for those, the magnitude of those. I can assure you they'll be correct in the resolution of approval that's approved. Stipulated conditions, all those set forth in the various reports that we've just addressed, as well as the following additional stipulations, which were made this evening: 3 bike racks, install a security camera per police department consultation, the security level lighting per consultation with and subject to the review and approval of the engineer and the police department. Bear with me, because we did not go with the lighting being shut off between midnight and 5 a.m. On trash receptacles in the pedestrian area, or excuse me, pedestrian plaza. The security level lighting will be subject to the review and approval of the board engineer and the police department, and the board engineer will also have review and approval over the lighting on the pedestrian plaza. We had that discussion, and maybe one more, maybe lower level. A board-on-board fence enclosure for the compactors, 6 feet high, to be shown on the plans with protected bollards and a person gate. The guard rails on the staircase, and penmanship lessons for Steve. And let's see, I think that is the employees of Trader Joe's, PetSmart, and all the tenants will be good faith encouraged by the owner, manager of the plaza to park in the northern portion of the upper parking level area. And that good faith effort will utilize the relationships and leverage that that party has with respect to the aforementioned tenants. And I think that's.
We've agreed to 2 EV spaces.
2 EV spaces, yeah, right now.
I think we agree with 5 bikes, but no Steve?
I'm sorry?
5 bikes.
Did we get up to 5?
I saw 10 and they said it's 5.
3.
This is 3.
I heard it's kind of like when I used to ask for allowance. And I'd ask for $50 a week, my father would say $40, what do you need $30 for?
I think it was 3 was the number we could come.
Three bikes, but is that only 3 bikes or is that 3 bike racks?
Racks.
3
Rack? 3 racks. How many on a rack? How many bikes
Do
on
we
a
know
rack?
how many per rack?
2?
Just 2.
It's a couple per rack.
Okay, we got there.
You need a different detail.
Okay, 2 EV spaces, we got that. Any other stipulated 2 conditions that I missed? Seeing and hearing none, that's the relief, that's the conditions. If the board is amenable to approving with, I'll assume it's all stipulated 2 conditions. And of course, it's a majority for passage, 5 out of 9.
So moved.
Oh,
No.
and you're certainly allowed to have deliberations.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But not required.
Are there any, any further comments or any discussion from the board? All right, then we'll go back. Whatever Steve said, so moved. Do I have a second? All right, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Jonathan Baxter,
Yes.
Allison Canfield,
Yes.
Michael Cohen,
Yes.
Jorge Mastro-Petro.
Yes.
Deborah Nevis,
Yes.
Frank Sacamandi,
Yes.
Michael Zion,
Yes.
Vice Chair Srini Vijay,
Yes.
Chair Gaston Happer.
Yes.
Thank you, we appreciate your time. I knew I could do it in 45 minutes.
That was a lawyer's 45 minutes.
Thank you again, we appreciate your time and the comments.
If we can have it quiet only because we have more business to do, please.
I would like to make a motion. Testimony at 9 o'clock. So I'd like to extend testimony at 9 o'clock.
We are. We're getting it on there.
Everybody listening, you guys, come on. I'd like to make a motion to extend testimony past 10 o'clock, not to exceed 10:30.
Our bylaws don't allow us to take new witnesses after 10. We're gonna take a new matter, correct, Mr. Chairman, with witnesses and go to at least 10:30 for now.
Okay. So I make a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Yes, you have representation for application 26002, minor subdivision.
I'm sorry.
33 West Beechcroft LLC, 33 West Beechcroft Road, block 2801, lot 16 and 45.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, members of the board. My name is Stephen Azzolini, and I'm the attorney representing the applicant, 33 West Beechcroft LLC. First, I'd like to say that I'm glad Mr. Skolnick was not under oath. That was the longest 45 minutes I've ever experienced in my life. But I appreciate you, much appreciate you spending the time tonight to hear us. We will be quick. This is a fairly straightforward application with one witness. Although I do have my client here in case there's any questions for him. But with that being said, we are seeking tonight a minor subdivision consisting of a lot line adjustment between two existing conforming lots. So no new lot is being created tonight. Both lots will be fully conforming to all bulk requirements in the R4 zone, and no variances are sought tonight in connection with the application. So the purpose of the adjustment is to reallocate upland area to lot 16 in connection with a proposed new single-family home, while leaving the environmentally constrained wetlands area largely consolidated on lot 45. We are also aware that the township has a drainage easement going back to 1937, which handled anything in existence at that time. And one of the comments of your engineer was to codify that in a new 20-foot easement, which if necessary, we are certainly willing to do for the approval tonight. With that being said, what I really want to do is turn it over to Mr. Keller, who we just heard from, who's our engineer, and will go through the exhibits. He will be have to be sworn.
And before he's sworn, I'm just gonna let the record reflect that I did review the notice. I found the content to be sufficient, found it to be timely served, certified mail February 20, as with the prior application, and as proven again, in my opinion, particularly in this February timeframe here. We're switching over. March 1 is going to be a little bit of a new notice statute for applicants. It was published in two papers, both the Star Ledger on February 17 and the item on February 19th. All those dates being at least 10 days prior to this evening. So the board does have jurisdiction to hear and decide the application this evening. I'll swear in Mr. Keller as well as our board professionals again.
And I'll also like my client, just in case there's any questions for him, a representative of the applicant.
Certainly. All four of you will raise your right hand. All four of you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you all. Please, with the chair's permission, please proceed.
Great, thank you, Counselor. So I'd like to call Mr. Keller as my first witness. He'll be acting as a civil engineer tonight. And again, if you want to give the board your qualifications, then I'd ask the chairman to qualify him as a professional civil engineer.
Yep, I am a licensed engineer and planner in the state of New Jersey since 1990. I hold a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering with a concentration in Water Resources and Environmental Engineering from Rutgers University. I also hold a Master's in Architecture with a concentration in Urban Planning and Design, and that's from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, where I was also an adjunct professor of graduate and undergraduate divisions for approximately 11 years. I have appeared before this board, Board of Adjustment, approximately 110 boards for the state of New Jersey. I've also provided consulting engineering services to the Township of South Orange Village, as well as I was the engineer for 3 years for Long Hill Township. I've also provided planning testimony, professional services to the Board of Adjustment in Caldwell a couple of years ago for 2 years. My licenses are in good effect, and this time it was nice to be back. And this time I promise I'll be much more brief.
The board finds you acceptable as a professional civil engineer.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so Rich, why don't you take us to the existing and conditions and what we're proposing with the lot line adjustment?
Well, first of all, I wanna make sure, because I see we have some neighbors who have kind of endured the whole first application. And so I wanna make sure it's clear, that the area that is at the bottom, at the back of the property was primarily, lot 45, that's off of, Laurel Court, is not going to be built. There's nothing that can be built on that, nothing that will be built. So we are, observing the steep slope area that comes off the Laurel will not be touched. And then we have the wetlands delineated, we have a letter of interpretation that's been applied for. Once we get, and it's been probably 6-8 weeks, once that comes through, we will provide that to, your board professional as well as the, township engineer, for their use. And obviously, any deed restrictions that are, part of that, would be filed at the appropriate time and verified by your township. The purpose of the subdivision, as indicated by my attorney, is to transfer right now the existing lot line, the small lot that exists on West Beechcroft, and the larger lot is off of Laurel. And we're looking to basically take 14,171 square feet from Laurel Court, lot 45, transfer it over to lot 16, resulting in lot 16.01, which is on the blue line, which is just outside of the wetlands. So there will be no wetlands located on that property. There is a transition area. We're looking at a transition averaging plan to get a little more buildable space behind the building as is permitted by DEP. And we will be trading off some buildable area that sits behind one of my previous clients, the resolution at lot 15. So really nothing can be built behind lot 15. No house can be built on lot 45. It's really about transferring some of that upland property onto this property and eliminating what, really just making it for a more buildable lot. The lots already exist as 2 lots today, 2 fully conforming lots. And they will be, 2 fully conforming lots in the future. It's all located in the R4 zone. Really just a lot line adjustment. I'm happy to answer any questions. I will say that, about 2 weeks ago, by the way, I apologize, this drawing is not what's in your package. This is our drawing, minor subdivision plat, 33 West Beechcroft Road. It is originally dated 1/05/2026. It's got a revision date of 2/19/2026, and the revision was easement added.
So why don't we make that A1?
Yep. That's our A1. So, back on the 19th, the township engineer approached me. While we do have a blanket easement that allows for any pipes that existed back in the late 30s, there's an existing pipe that drains West Beechcroft, comes down through the Nixon corner of the property and discharges behind our property. There are no other known pipes that discharge off of Beechcroft into that area. There is a fair amount of drainage that comes off of Laurel Court, as well as Morningside Court, that drains into through this area through what sometimes looks like a pond. It's pretty much always a wetland. That's really part of a sort of town-wide drainage system for Laurel Court, Morningside, and the Beechcrofts. And so, since the easement from 1937, I believe, was a blanket easement, just talk about pipes in existence at the time, township engineer asked that we codify that, making it a 20-foot easement, 10-foot on either side of the existing pipe, so that if the town goes through with anticipated drainage improvements in Beechcroft Road, they would have the right to increase the size of that pipe. Now they will, it's a 10-inch pipe, very steep, which is a lot of capacity, but it gives them a flexibility. They can go in, and it defines that easement as 20 feet, or there was no width on it. So my client agreed to work with the township and provide it. So that's the shaded area. You see the triangle on the provide. That's 668 square feet. 20 feet wide, 10 foot on each side of the pipe that traverses through our property. That.
I'm sorry, did you say the 668 is being dedicated to the township or?
It's part of the, it's not being dedicated to the township, it's part of the easement. So the
Part of the
easement area, 668 square. And that easement area is outside, so. See, what we found is a 20 foot, width, of shaded area, 10 foot on either side of that pipe that runs from Beechcroft into the adjoining lot 18. And we've shown 10 foot on either side of it, and that shaded area is there, we're defining an easement by meets and bounds.
I guess my only question, if I may, Chairman, is it wasn't on the original, it's on this one, what's changed? Is it outside the existing lot? Is it, or?
It crosses the lot, the inlet is not on the property, the outfall's on the property, but we know the pipe crosses, assuming there's a linear connection, we know that the pipe crosses that.
So nothing changed other than you've shaded the area that you believe to all, be part of the drainage easement area because the pipe is understood to, or assumed to be there.
Correct.
Accurate?
Correct. The township engineer wanted to make sure that there was clear rights for the township to do work on that pipe. You know, I didn't know that there was a blanket easement. I don't know if she did. She wanted to have a definitive easement. They've agreed to provide it. The pipe is already there. So that's what they're doing.
Right, and then the shaded area better identifies the
Correct.
location of it. Okay, now I got it. Thank you.
Right, there'll be a meets and bounds,
So we're not giving up ownership of that property.
Right.
It remains part of this, but I will say that is outside the buildable envelope for any home, outside, most of it's
So
outside
it's
the
accessible.
accessory structure. But it does at least the town, because when you have a blanket easement with no width, 10 feet, it's 5 feet, it's 8 feet, so this defines it as being 20 feet, which is more than adequate to allow the town to come in and work, store it, and work on that
No
property.
variance relief required, but might actually be a benefit.
It is benefit, but there's no benefits to the community, but there's no variance.
I have a question. You said that nothing could be built behind lot 15. Why is that? Like you've drawn the setbacks, but just avoiding that section.
Well, you see, you've got a line that's a 50 foot wetland transition area. So there's a little bit of an oval area that currently you could put an accessory structure in. However, by the time you factored in your 12 foot offset, you'd be left with very little. The reality is, what we're looking at doing is pushing back the transition area to get a little more room behind, and we'll dedicate much of that area to an expanded transition area, which means that everything behind lot 15 would be not developable. I would say a principal home could not be developed, but could not be placed back there. Currently, you could fit a small accessory structure like on any property back there, but once we do the anticipated transition averaging plan, that whole area will be swapped for a little more buildable area right up to the steep slopes area behind us. So again, and that's not where our principal, so the principal structure is gonna go pretty much biased to the minimum setback, but it does allow for some increased use of the backyard in terms of accessory structure.
But this is like a legal question. What's the status of what you just said?
In shorthand, if I can kind of assist here, basically.
DEP won't let you do it.
You can't build in the transition area, but what they're proposing to do is swap some of the transition.
No, I
areas.
understand
So
what you're
it's taking
saying.
some
I'm
of it
just
and putting
wondering,
it the other
we've had that verbally undertaken, but there's nothing on my map that says that. I'm just wondering what the legal status of
Well, what I
that
would
is
say
this
is,
meeting is.
The transition averaging.
No, I'm understanding that, is he giving us a stipulation that this is not gonna happen or
actually,
what?
let me withdraw. It's currently our intent to follow through the transition average. We may or may not. Right now, I will say that no part of a principal dwelling could be built behind lot 15. We may do some swapping, as Graham said, to give up a little transition area right behind the house and increase the transition area for the wetlands over behind lot 15. Lot 15 is declining. A long discussion with them today, look at plans, make sure they were comfortable. As with all my clients, I do a lot of work in the area. Whenever I start work, I tell them, I'm gonna protect my other clients because it's really protecting them at the same time. So I would say, I'm not stipulating that we will do a transition averaging, or will continue transition averaging, but I can say that no part of a principal dwelling could realistically be placed behind lot 50.
And just if I can also ask a clarifying question, Mr. Keller, is that subject to review and approval by DEP, the transition averaging? So there is another level of approval of that state to affect.
So we've actually requested, but whether you can request the transition, we've requested the LOI, that's the letter of interpretation that DEP signs up and agrees to the extent of the wetlands. We've also requested an LOI 8 weeks ago. That is optional. We can get it from the DEP, we can act on it, we cannot. Most likely we will, but I would not like to stipulate at this time. What I would say, as I just indicated relative to the previous question, no part of a principal dwelling can be built behind lot 50.
We banned ADUs, right? Nothing could go in that area. Let's think, do we ban ADUs?
Yeah, we don't permit.
We don't, what we do for now
Yeah,
until
we
the
do.
state
Yeah,
changes,
yeah,
but yeah.
So nothing will get built.
But even an ADU, you'd have more than a 12-foot setback on the side, right? So, I don't know if we do ADU in the R4, but Mayor knows better than I do.
I didn't know about an ADU until I visited my son in Portland. And the owners built an ADU right behind and moved to the new one and rented the front house to my son. It would be incredible, 2 little houses on one level. But also just for clarification, in the documentation I submitted, there was a 2009 application for the zoning board on the pre-existing home for a side yard variance for a patio. The house has been demolished, so right now it's a vacant lot. So any construction on that property would be subject to a lot grading plan and going back to the town for permitting and whatever. So while the variance runs with the property, I'm not sure that's gonna come into effect when the house is constructed on the.
If it's vacant land, it's abandoned.
If that has been banned.
The variance really.
The variance would be.
Yeah, so we've actually, the previous language was,
You're
as
looking
long
at
as
it
the
as
patio was
a
there, the
virgin
patio's
lot.
gone.
Vacant lot.
So by moving the lot line to the, so how much extra square footage does that allow the new house to be built?
Well, you're adding 14,000 square feet, times 14, so that's probably 2,800 total, something, let me grab my phone.
I assume there are no plans for that house that are final yet?
Not yet, we're still waiting for DEP approval. So the house footprint could be an additional 1,900 foot larger. Not that it will be, but it could be. It's really more about, right now, the difficult thing about developing this property is getting some accessory uses behind the property, where you can kick into this area. So it's really constrained more on the ability to develop accessory programs in the backyard, which are typical to the neighborhood.
So there is an existing house right out there, right?
Which was just demolished just
Oh, it
in
wasn't,
the year.
because here in the survey, it looks like.
Yeah, we prepared these plans back in November.
Okay.
So in essence, it's just giving it a bigger yard.
Yep.
Because the other lot is unusable.
It's unusable, it'll remain unusable, it'll remain under common ownerships. Gives the owner the flexibility to either, there is a general perception, if you tell people you have a property and it's for sale, it's got wetlands on it, they won't come look at it. This way you have a larger property, that doesn't have any wetlands on it, and the new buyers can either buy it and add it to it, in which case they're gonna add it right back, or they'll use it, because if they wouldn't really want to ever combine the two. If you combine the two, you would have accessory stuff in the front yard from Laurel Court, so these will always stay individual lots. It also allows the flexibility of either this to be sold off either, or, and the mayor may know better, there's been some talk, at least by the business administrator, since they are going to be looking to increase drainage in the Beechcroft area, put more water back in here, they know they get Laurel Court, they know they get Morningside, actually using open space funding to possibly make this part of the township's property, since they use it for intense stormwater management. But it allows flexibility for any of those three actions.
Excellent. Question for our professionals. Did the township say anything about purchasing it? And was this area large enough if they did have any intention to buy it, like, did they need to purchase more? My concern is this lot was cut off to the south here. And it's just steep slope behind it. Any idea why it was originally cut off from? Or not included in that front property? Or like,
Not that I'm aware of, when we had the DRC meeting, we did discuss that the township may seek to acquire it. If you note that lot 44, also on Laurel Court, is a vacant lot, probably, that also has, I'm sure, a wetland area on it as
Yeah.
well.
it's a huge basin, all contiguous.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was not part of my discussion with the township engineer. Her concern was the drainage easement, so, happy to see that added. I don't really have any questions because there's not a lot here. It is just moving a lot line. And I think with the demolition of the house and that voiding the prior variance, the conditions that went with that prior variance are also null and void. And that because the variance was for the patio, and it was a condition that they maintain an evergreen buffer. Well, if you don't have the patio, then there's no basis for requiring, but that's a legal issue and I'm not getting into that. You guys deal with that. I just, I had put that into my memo because I didn't know the house was demolished.
Well, the condition says the applicant shall maintain the existing evergreen buffer shown on sheet L-2 of the Davies plans for so long as the patio continues to exist on the northeasterly side of the property.
There you go. So if it's not there anymore,
I would point out the reason that the prior owner, Carolyn Ewing, went for the variance is because they were so limited in the back, they couldn't get a patio in the appropriate location, so they asked for permission to put it on the sides. We're trying to eliminate that possibility, and our intent is to move a fully compliant application. And part of the way we're doing it, moving accessory stuff into the backyard rather than the side yard like the Ewing proposed, is by expanding that lot area and the possible transition area.
And it's possible you'll have accessories, one or more accessory structures, whatever the ordinance allows, in that a portion of the new area. To the extent it is not prohibited by setbacks from.
Correct.
The property, the new property.
Yeah, correct, of course. We'll meet all the setbacks and we're gonna put the accessory stuff where it belongs in the backyard.
And I take it, and maybe our professionals can weigh in with the chair's permission, I'm sorry for jumping in, but that it would be impossible for a portion of any principal structure, which presumably could be larger now on a larger lot, 1,900 square feet larger, I guess. No portion of that principal structure would be in the newly transferred area, but only an accessory structure would be there? Or could a portion of the principal structure?
There is something here that is showed, and you can.
Yeah.
you could, but since the township ordinance requires accessory uses to be in the rear yard, then putting the principal use that far back, then where do you put the accessory structure? So,
I mean, if you didn't do the lot line adjustment, it would be 2 lots, and the owner can extend the principal structure as far back as he wants. Even if he goes over the lot line, then the lots would have merged, you would make them 1 lot.
Well,
Then they would have merged by
You'd have to
operation of law.
consolidate the lot in order to get it.
No, but an owner can do it, because I looked up this, I have a case law, but I looked it up, if it's done, it merges automatically.
Oh, well, you're talking about the Lochner doctrine.
Yeah.
For
Yes.
for automatic.
Automatic
Automatic
But they're
consolidation.
back-to-back lots.
It doesn't apply.
Lochner doesn't apply.
Lochner does not apply.
Yeah, because they're
No,
back,
2
two
front,
back,
we have 2
back-to-back
front
lots.
frontages.
So it's no automatic merger. Obviously, we don't want to merge it.
No.
You see, we don't need that big a house. We don't merge it because then I run into the issue if I start to put accessory stuff back here, now it's in the lower quarter front yard, even though it's 400 feet away. So through lots are really not anticipated by our ordinance and they're not treated well. So we don't want to do a through lot. We don't want to consolidate them. We like to have a lot that is wetland free and give the people who owned it before the Ewens created a wonderful little Japanese garden down there. I don't know how they got rid of the mosquitoes, but they had a wonderful little Japanese garden down there. Maybe the next owner will too, I don't know, or maybe, my client has to decide whether they're selling the property, what they're doing with it, but it allows some flexibility, and preserves that lot 16.0, lot 45 will not be built.
But it's not just a bigger yard, it's a bigger house too,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And
But I,
yeah,
but I
to
will
that
note,
point- Go ahead,
with
sorry.
respect to, as it's shown on the plan, and Mr. Keller, so is it correct that the wetland transition area line actually comes forward of the rear yard setback line? So really, it's resolving the wetland the encroachment into the transition area that is really kind of dictating the depth of the house, I'll say.
Correct.
So, they have kind of competing approvals in that the state regulatory framework for the wetland transition area is actually a greater rear yard setback than our own rear yard setback on phase 4.
Right,
So
the proposal
there's a
is
series
to
of
do this
constraints.
averaging, they're gonna reduce the wetland, gap on the.
Right, to
Right,
allow them to at least
behind.
get to our municipal rear yard setback line, but so there's a series of approvals is what I'm saying.
But you can only reduce the transition area by as much as you can
offset.
compensate it someplace else. And you can't reduce it by more than half the width of the transition area,
So
in
it's
this
gonna be
case, 25 feet.
25,
Right. So there are,
There are a series of constraints.
yeah,
layers.
constraints that will protect and maintain that wetland in the back.
That's the case, then that's actually gonna more or less fill in that corner.
Squares it off, basically.
Yeah, but I would say fill in from a geometric perspective, but we're not filling that area with soil. We're not.
No, no, when I say fill,
Yeah.
I just mean the amount of area that if you wanna go back to 25 feet behind the existing lot 16, 25 feet into the wetland transition area, that much area that you take out pretty much fills, if you're gonna add it back on the left,
It's gonna take
so in that
that
little
entire.
flag part of the lot, it's basically gonna fill all that in.
Right.
No, I mean, the averaging process, if I understand correctly, the DEP is gonna approve is you can build closer to the wetland over here if you give all of that area back somewhere else.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes. Equal
And if
amounts
that
of
area
footage.
gets given back, the only place it can be given back, because there's only one other place to do it, is over here on the left.
Right.
As the other Mr. Keller said, has to be an even swap of area and a maximum of 25. And but it was also, as Graham indicated, what starts to dictate is your rear setback. So you can't put your principal structure back there, nor do you want to. So I don't think because of the constraints on the setbacks, I don't think you're ever gonna get that extra 1,900 square feet. It's really more about creating a more usable yard.
Right, but the point is the lot line where it is now, you still have that usable yard.
Well, don't forget, I've got 25% rear yard unoccupied. And so when I start to bundle 20% covered rear and 25% rear unoccupied, I get where I can get a house in, but I've got area, but I don't have enough 25% rear unoccupied to start putting stuff. So this 14,000 square foot adjustment helps us breathe a little.
When you say start putting stuff,
Accessory structure.
accessory structures.
Patio.
Or pool.
Tennis court? Is that a tennis court?
Oh, you could never fit it down.
Let's let them have a patio.
You have to have a 36,000 square foot backyard to start with a tennis court, and our whole lot is only 21,000, going up to 34,000. So you would never do a tennis court, not a pickleball court. Pool would, a small pool possibly, more really gives us the ability to do appropriate patios to the back of this house. And keep them out of the side yard.
Yeah, okay, I guess I got there.
We're done with testimony.
Yeah, motion to extend another 15 minutes,
Second.
10:45, is that okay? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Is that the end of your direct?
That's the end of my direct.
It is,
Any questions?
I got nothing.
everything was covered in, the engineer's report?
What little was in there.
Questions for the public?
Well, wait,
yeah.
board members, board professionals first. minutes. And I think fire officials comment with respect to tax department for verification, you'll stipulate for that.
Yes.
No comment from the forester, no comment from the police department. And the environmental commission recommendation was proposed briefly may enable future development plan. I'm not an expert, something to do with wetlands and stormwater. Mr. Keller, recommendation. Consider the long-term environmental and stormwater management value of the parcel, maybe beneficial for the town to explore acquisition. Okay, so that's not necessarily a recommendation to you.
We see environmental commission also.
All right. Yeah, that's what I was just referring to.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that covers the all the reports. Is this your only witness?
This is my only witness.
Are there any questions from the public for the witness? From the
Are we
public?
allowed to comment and question or?
Yes, we're getting that, but that'll be the next step.
Well, you can
So,
actually
yeah.
combine them discretion of the chair if you want. You could ask questions and comment, I could swear you in. When you're ready. The chair's permission.
Come on up.
Okay. As long as it doesn't be-
Would you like to stand?
That's fine, all right.
Sure.
If you could just give us your name and address.
My name is Jennifer Abeledine, and I'm at 30 West Beach.
Very West Beach Crawford. Please raise your right hand. You swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. And again, you can ask questions as well as make your comments.
Okay. So I guess I'm very happy to hear the topic of drainage and stormwater management come up because that is a major concern in the Beechcroft neighborhood. I'm in frequent contact with Martha and Christine about this issue. And I think there's more than, I actually think the document that was submitted is a bit misleading because it talks only about Laurel Court drainage. We did verbally talk about West Beechcroft drainage. But basically everything from West Beechcroft drains behind that property or on the Laurel Court property, coming from basically 2 inlets on West Beechcroft only. So it's an exorbitant amount of water that needs to be managed.
Can I just explain one thing? This is not an application to construct a home, this is to create a lot. So when they do construct the home, they have to go through a lot grading plan, discuss drainage with the municipality, comply with all their regulations on drainage. The engineer will review that. So that's why you didn't hear a lot about drainage on the current site.
I guess I'm just afraid this is, pun intended, a slippery slope. Like if we say, okay, we're gonna give you all this extra land, you're not really gonna build on it. It's an investment property from what I understand. I have a lot of backstory that raises a lot of red flags for me. Dirt has already been brought in and taken away without any permits,
That's not, the demo permit has been received and it's actually been closed out.
but that was before the demo. That happened. The realtor is married to the investor. These are concerning topics that I think everybody should be aware of. Not just somebody bought the property, wants to improve the neighborhood and is gonna live there with the consequences. I live there and I suffer from the consequences of what goes on in the neighborhood. And I'm really passionate about it. I guess my ultimate question is, what is the intention? What is the plan?
Plan is to build a home and
What kind of home?
a single family home. I worked on the property for Uni Ferguson, prior owner. You've got a nightmare of a condition, house was built above you, they took out some dry wells, you have a pipe that runs under your house, under your deck. Does tie in, and I would say that there are, your property sits over here, drains into an inlet in your driveway, comes in through this pipe, discharges back in here, and this is more than 22 feet below.
Is her property lot 17?
I'm 33. I mean, I'm 30.
30.
No, no,
Lot-
lot number,
lot-
lot,
Lot 2802, lot 1.
lot one.
You, permits and company, lot that you own?
Yep.
So,
Corner of Beach Drop.
or B,
Right.
Beach Drop and West Beach Drop. So I
Okay,
circled
lot
it
one.
on the on the tax map on the right, they're directly across the street.
But all of our drainage goes behind there, the whole neighborhood.
Actually, it goes two ways. Part of it goes down, there's an inlet that picks up a substantial part of West Beach Drop, takes it down through lot 15.
Right, but that goes to the same place.
Goes to the same
Yeah.
place, and then there's a significant part of each beach crop that comes down, gets picked up. There's some drainage in the back of lot 3, it gets picked up, and that actually splits. Some of it goes west and some of it comes east. And some of it does join with the water that comes out of your property and other properties continuing, 2802 lot 2 and 3, et cetera. They'll drain down, everything from each beach crops comes down. A significant amount of water comes through that existing 10-inch steel pipe, drops some 20 feet into that wetland area. So two things. One is that's not changing. All that will be made available. Part of the reason for more clearly defining that easement is because the town is talking about the beach crops it's a really unique area. The drainage is awful. The pipes were put in way too shallow. They should have been 3 feet lower. Knowing you had a 20-foot outlet, it could have been 4 or 5 feet lower and bigger. So it's a nightmare. It needs to be fixed. But that's why that easement that we're giving to the town helps secure that the town, if they need to, I don't know if they'll have to, but they can increase the size of this pipe. We already increased the pipe when this property was developed. We actually put 15-inch pipe where there was an 8-inch pipe. We increased it to a 15-inch pipe that comes down and discharges at the back of lot, the adjoining lot, lot 15. So none of this will adversely impact you at all. And I understand because I've worked a lot in the beach crop and it's a nightmare. And the only way to handle that is to get deeper infrastructure, use the existing pipe and get that into the floor. This is 20 to 25 feet down. So, and that's not going to be touched at all. And as our attorney said, when we come for a development plan, regardless of the size of the home, we need to demonstrate through the use of dry wells or other methods that we don't increase the amount of runoff into that, even with the wetland area. We have to be painted on some land. So nothing will hurt you, you're uphill. Nothing will impact that pipe that goes to our property, and that's now protected further by an additional defined easement. And we will have to provide a grading plan to the municipality, to demonstrate no increase in runoff into that area. I want to provide soil conservation techniques to protect that wetland area from any kind of sediment, soil, et cetera. And then I, of course, got all the DEP rates.
How do I get guaranteed for that?
Well, you've got infrastructure in the town. You've been speaking to Martha and Christine. They will be the one, Christine will be the one who will be to grading plan to make sure it meets all of those requirements. What we're looking to do here is just a lot of.
I respectfully disagree that that's all.
Well, look, there's gonna be a house, we're clear about that, but we don't know what the house
Well,
is.
the house didn't have to be torn down. That's the other, I mean, it was a $2.6 million house that got torn down. So you are already in the hole a lot of money, right? Plus all of this that you have to go through to recoup your investment.
Council, I respectfully believe that's irrelevant to our application tonight and argumentative, so.
But with the chair's permission, with the questions that were asked and answered and the comments that were made, I think are appropriate enough for the board to consider and give the appropriate weight to. I don't know if Mr. Keller wishes to weigh up, the board's Mr. Keller, wishes to weigh in on what the applicant's Mr. Keller said vis-a-vis answering the questions and concerns expressed by the member of the public, but
Just briefly, I mean, I think he addressed it fully. Any development on that property will require review and approval by the Township Engineering Department. And if there are any variances sought, they will come back to the appropriate board.
right, but if I may, if the lot line adjustment is granted by this board, it will afford the applicant an opportunity, as you've heard, to build a larger house and or have accessory structures further to the rear of what is the existing lot 16, that would become a deeper lot 16.01, without having to come to a land use board for variance relief. They may or may not still need relief depending upon what they propose to do when they have their development application put together, but there will still be lot grading plans and permitting required by the municipality. And again, I'm gonna leave it to Mr. Keller, so to speak, to address the magnitude that stormwater management is reviewed in connection with those non-land use board applications.
Correct. Whatever they propose to do, they have to meet the stormwater requirements set forth in the township code. So that may end up restricting how much impervious coverage they put onto the property. Because there are a lot of conditions that have to be met, and that's all under the purview of the engineering department.
Would it also perhaps and/or require additional stormwater management to be implemented by the applicant?
On that property, yes. Yeah, I don't think there's anything on the property today, so any new construction, and it is now a vacant lot, any new construction needs to comply with today's code. And if the check something, yeah.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, while Mr. Keller is looking at that, Mr. Azalina, the counsel for the applicant, does have a point with respect to certain comments made vis-a-vis relationships between investors and property owners. We as a land use board, as our planning board well knows, we don't regulate occupants or who owns or what relationships people have with each other. That's not our authority. It's simply land development applications that are before us that we consider. So I didn't, when I said, Mr. Azalina, that everything that was said was appropriate, let me just caveat it.
I appreciate that. It's, by the way, following up on my comment and my cousin, the other Mr. Keller.
No relation.
The reality is that, even though I said by area you could build 1,900 square feet larger house, the reality is the physical constraints, the setbacks, the rear unoccupied, the transition averaging, the side yard setbacks will all limit that for much small. If I'm not getting much more benefit to the main footprint of the house. I could, certainly build there are other lots on the block that you can get larger houses in because they are larger to begin with and they don't have the same environmental constraints. So when we say it's 1,900 square feet, you couldn't possibly get a house that's 1,900 square feet big. You're not gonna get a house that's 14% of the property just because you've got so many other constraints. If for some reason we could though, you would have to provide the appropriate detention. If we don't have the soils to accommodate it, as Mr. Keller said, you may have to size down the house, make it smaller, just meet the detention requirements. So from every aspect, there are controls that will limit the size of this house, and certainly protect the public from excess water going down into the wetland area. And certainly will not impact any of the properties that are above us in the beach groves.
So I'm gonna ask you, Mr. Keller, a question. And not to be simplistic, but in your opinion, by moving this lot line, are we making things better, making things worse in terms of stormwater management, or not really having any impact?
I think it's fairly neutral. I mean, it gives the property owner of lot 16 more flexibility on how to deal with things because it is now all on a single lot and not by a line on a piece of paper that says, well, here's the lot line. Yes, it gives more land area, as the applicants, Mr. Keller testified. You still have to meet all of the other criteria within the code and also stormwater management. Stormwater management will all go to the back. It will go towards that wetland area away from West Beechcroft because that is the topography of the land. So honestly, I think it's probably from a stormwater perspective, neutral.
So if they were to just merge the two lots, wouldn't they have even fewer restrictions? Because then their stormwater management could take advantage of that wetland area, right?
you create zoning issues because now it's a through lot, you got two front yards.
Yeah.
You know, that automatically, you know, brings any application to a board.
I see.
You know, because you're creating that. You're not going to be doing anything in the wetland area itself because state regulations prohibit activities in there. So you really gain nothing because you're still constrained by the developable portion of the lot because you also can't disturb transition area other than averaging it so that it is, this part's no longer within transition area, this part is now in the transition area. It, you know, it really creates no benefit from a development perspective and creates zoning issues. And I mean, I'm not gonna weigh in on the salability or the, you know, people not wanting to have wetlands on their property. That's a marketing issue. That's not my, so, but from a construction perspective, merging the lots really does nothing positive.
And can the steep slope be touched at all? Is that?
1,000 square feet if it can be, up to 1,000 square feet. If I merged these and made a 1.5 acre lot, I couldn't get a bigger footprint on the house. It's, again, the footprint is gonna be constrained by those environmental issues, not, but I can only disturb, for instance, in the front, I've got 687 square feet of steep slope that we can disturb under your normal zoning. Any more than that, I really only have another, 317 square feet left, so I can't even disturb much of this area in the back here. So I'm already constrained, can't build patios, the steep slopes, once I go over 1,000 square feet. So I've got a lot of constraints in the property that are gonna keep that house fairly compact towards the front. Really about getting it used to.
But if they didn't touch the steep slope in the front, they could touch 1,000 square feet in the back.
I guess up to 1,000 square feet, anywhere on the property.
Mr. Keller, I have a question for you. Certainly you've been in the neighborhood for a long time. Any history as to why it currently doesn't do its job? Some of the easement and the pipe, as you mentioned, it, you know, wasn't large enough. And I'm looking at this as the question,
Yeah.
I'm trying to break it down for her too. My concern, and I understand her concern, is how do we know it's not gonna happen again when this new house gets on there? So maybe we could help her understand that the regulations are different today, or if you, please, I don't wanna step on your.
No, there a very large part of the beach cross gets drained through two pipes down into this area. One is this 10-inch metal pipe, and there's another pipe, I think it's a 15-inch somewhere that comes down through the property. Bisects somewhere, it taps up, I don't remember where exactly it is. That's a lot of drainage area for a neighborhood. And those pipes generally tend to be 12-inch pipes, some small. They're very flat and they're very shallow. They're only a couple feet deep, which means you can't, it's very difficult to grade into them. Sometimes you have to put pipes and you chase grade, you actually put a pipe in, you run an auxiliary storm sewer in the street to run down and catch the sewer because they're so shallow. So we've done a lot of things to help some of these neighbors in the area, but unfortunately, the way it was built, just too shallow and too restrictive. Well, they were designed for 15-year storms back then, not 100-year storms. And so.
Thank you.
But
That's
all of
what we
that-
wanted to hear.
So all of that, but any new work the town would do would look at a comprehensive solution to start draining this area. And the place you would generally start, you always start at your downstream part. The place they would generally start if they're gonna do that work, the benefit of the neighbors across the street, would be at the discharge point. So they're not gonna change that. They may make that pipe larger. They're not gonna change the slope. It's got a large capacity. But all these pipes that come through the beach props would need to be made deeper and larger. And you would really start at this point and start coming up as funds allowed to start running pipes in, abandoning the old pipes, picking up. It's a costly solution. The town has done that in the South Mountain section to mitigate some of the flooding. But this is the area where you start, but because things were designed to a 15-year storm at best, back in the 30s through the 60s. And now we look more towards much larger. And also, we don't design all street storms, street drainage to be 100-year. But where we look at it when you go less is when it bubbles up, it goes down on the next end, or the next end until its capacity. That doesn't happen. It's got no place to go. It's so restricted, but 2 pipes that drain into this back area. So there's a solution. We're not hindering that solution. We're helping that solution by providing an easement. But nothing, because we sit lower, we're the lowest point in the Beechcrofts, maybe except for North Beechcroft, just to our east here, but we're the lowest from Beechcroft and the West Beechcroft, come down through this area. So there's nothing that we're doing. We're sitting below the road. The house will be designed. The only way you can get a house in is probably to have that 3 to 4 feet, the first floor 3 to 4 feet below the curb line. So we're not building the house up and pushing drainage towards the street. There's just not enough room to get a driveway in, to get a house on that property. So you're gonna have to push that down, to get a driveway and a side facing garage. So there's no way that any of this drainage can ever get up to West Beechcroft. It's all gonna be directed to the back, and it'll be through an appropriately designed stormwater management system to meet the town requirements.
I'm hoping that it answered a lot of your questions as to why, and, that this house would actually help. So.
It's not gonna hurt. And it's down the hill.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna make it worse.
Right.
Right.
It's very complicated, and I just wanted that clarification
Yeah, no.
for the audience.
This was a subdivision from 1968, that's when these lots were created. So that's how far back.
Just want to get a feel on extending again, probably extend to 11:30.
Cut up in 11.
Yeah.
Go to 11:30.
Might as well.
Okay, all right, so I'll make a motion to extend till 11:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Before anything else, I know we have one more public commenter and questioner.
Yep. I'm Deborah Yu, and I live at the Beechcroft.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you
Yep.
swear to God or affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Questions, comments, both?
Sure, so I just wanted to, as I sat here and listened to this, I don't think it is totally neutral. They, I guess the applicant painted this as if it's for a small house, they're trying to be able to provide more land for a large house. The existing house that was just demolished was one of the larger homes in the Beechcroft neighborhood, actually. And my kids actually played at that house with the previous owners. And yeah, they did have a deck behind the house and a patio underneath that. It was a 3-car garage, so this was not an insignificantly sized house, which is why I'm not sure we need to extend this. And again, I think it is a little bit of a slippery slope to extend it to create a larger monstrosity. I will say, despite the fact that they are supposed to meet all the stormwater management, guidelines, et cetera, when the new constructions have occurred in the Beechcrofts, I've lived there for 10 years, there has been a dramatic change in the drainage. I know the houses were in the subdivision in 1960. I know my house is a 1939 house. And so it's a very old neighborhood, historic, you might even argue. And I know when there was a house built 8 North Beechcroft, at the end of North Beechcroft, my neighbor told me, my neighbor who lives at 33, but no, sorry, 30, you're 36. So she's 36, she's 30, sorry, my neighbor at 36 West Beechcroft told me that even altered it. So they're clearly getting approvals for these new builds, but it's still managing to really alter it. And for those of you not living in the neighborhood, you're not experiencing it. I mean, even something as simple as PSE&G was updating their meters, and that caused flooding in my house by externalizing my meter, because it disrupted the soil that's been there for over 80 years. So it just, even things that seem to, suffice or meet the stormwater, it's just disruption of the soil, et cetera. I mean, the soil's been in a lot of cases been sitting there for 80-some years, and it can really alter the way the drainage is. So those are just my comments. So I'm highly concerned also that there's going to be this large house, and it's really going to alter the way it is. So those are just my comments.
Hold on. Yeah,
Great.
Your summation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to sum up very briefly, we believe the application satisfies all the zoning and subdivision standards. There are no variances required, as I indicated previously. The professional reports that I've reviewed and that were submitted really give no basis for denial. We've agreed to the request for the stormwater easement to provide the town. I think that is a clear benefit. I think the testimony of our engineer clearly illustrated that this isn't a development plan. When we develop the home, we will obviously comply with all lot grading and stormwater management requirements. This is really just trying to make a more logical configuration so a person could have a backyard. Maybe the house will be bigger than what was there already, but it won't have a side yard issue, which the previous house required a variance to put a side yard patio in. So with that being said, I respectfully request approval of the lot line adjustment, and will comply obviously with the recommendations in the engineer's report. Thank you.
Before we go on, Eric,
Yeah.
can I ask you a question? If the township does end up purchasing it and it's considered now a basin of sorts, we're required to fence that off, basically, correct?
You
Or
don't
can that
have
stay
to
open?
fence it off. I mean, there's always been a lot of discussion about, do you fence an area that, you know, is functionally a basin, or do you leave, you know, there's pluses and minuses to it. Ultimately, it would be a decision of the township if they acquire it, how to, they may fence it more to keep people from dumping stuff in there. I'm sure that that's an issue with any kind of vacant lot. People find that is a convenient place to get rid of the stuff that they otherwise don't know where to put. But I mean, that would be a decision of the governing body in consultation with the engineering department.
Okay, and would they fence along? It looks as if, just from looking at the lay of the land, if the property is divided, this is at the bottom of the hill where the basin starts. Would they build the fence there, or would they need to put it further up?
It would probably be easier to construct at the top. I will note that on the Laurel Court side, that steep slope area at the end of the cul-de-sac is in a transition area. The wetlands extend almost up to that based upon the mapping. So that slope is regulated not only by the township as a steep slope, it's regulated by DEP as a transition area. And there are, you know, I mean, you can get a permit to fence it. The DEP, if they do go for an averaging plan, may require them to post not a fence, but markers that say that this area is transition area and you're not allowed to do anything in there. But that would be part of any approval that they got from DEP. Now, there's a requirement that they record the LOI when they get it. They go for an averaging plan. The DEP will make them deed restrict the wetland and the transition area and record that. There will be a deed restriction on that. Was it filed for both lots?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, the transition, yeah, currently the transition's on both. If we get subdivision approved, it'll be on the whole one.
It depends on how the DEP is very restrictive on, they want as much of that, if they only apply for lots 1601, then they can only deed restrict that. It doesn't matter because the other lot 45 is not going to be buildable. It's not usable. So.
I guess, second question, I don't know if it goes to you or to Graham. This would be on feasibility of building accessory structures. So the case we've been given is that they want to be able to build accessory structures in the backyard, not in the side yard, and perhaps not have to go for a variance. Is there anything preventing them from using the same lot lines today, getting a variance and still doing everything they want in the backyard? So they're like.
But it needs to go in front of the zoning board.
Right.
And it needs to be approved by them.
Right, but it can be done. You would think that if we approve the lot line the way it's drawn out today, that we're approving that already to say, yes, you can build there. And there should be no reason why the zoning board should say, no, you can't build there, correct?
Yeah,
I don't know if we can speculate hypothetically
Well,
about the zoning board may opine.
But, well, I don't know how they opine, right? But what I'm saying though is that if we think it's good enough to do, there's reason that zoning board would find the same way, right?
Well, they have different criteria and thresholds depending on
Yeah,
what type of
they would need a
zoning
bulk.
is being sought.
Right, correct. But it can still be sought.
It's a lot more difficult for them to go in front of the zoning board
Yeah.
than it is move the lot
Yeah.
line, which is why they're most likely doing that.
Okay, and again, I go back, if it's such a bad thing where it's like we have so many restrictions against it, why are we allowing them to do it?
But I don't know, given everything that's been presented, if we have a legal basis to deny it.
The applicant's not seeking any relief.
Right.
Yeah, this
It
isn't a
has a right
variance
to do it.
application, that's why we didn't go.
So what then, even, okay, let's say
So
that
we
there
may
are no
not be,
variances.
be clear, like, I understand the neighbor's concern that perfectly reasonable sized house was, you know, fits in with the neighborhood, was torn down, something bigger might get built, but it's not our duty to adjudicate that or even consider that. We have to look at the application, what's in front of us, and they're not seeking a variance from us. We have to, you know, our hands are tied to a certain degree as to.
Absolutely, and I'm not disagreeing with the size of the house, right? Not my concern. My concern is the wetlands. And if we as a township need to use that as some type of a basin, or we need to do something with it. It's divided that way at the moment, right? Because it's at the
If
top
we
of the
wanted
hill.
it as a township, we would condemn it, we would take it, we would just take it.
And for a public purpose.
Yeah.
With just compensation.
We do, I was
Yes.
Understood.
But that's a hypothetical, but I.
It's a hypothetical, but we wouldn't have to do it anyway if the lot line stays the same as it is today.
Mr. Chair, to the extent, if I understand you correctly, to the extent you may be saying, is there a justification for variance relief should they have gone to the, in the hypothetical case that they went to the zoning board of adjustment for bulk variance relief for setbacks, for accessory structures or what have you. But the fact of the matter is that they do not have to do that. They chose not to do that. And they have a right to come before us as a planning board for lot line adjustment, which is an easier way of saying minor subdivision approval.
Right.
And it's conforming to the extent no variance relief is required, so we cannot, as the mayor stated, we cannot use that standard even in reverse, so to speak, to look to see if there's a justification for the relief being sought by this board. Our authority doesn't extend that far, our jurisdiction doesn't extend that far. We have to consider the application, as the mayor said, that as it was brought to us, it is a fully conforming, i.e. no variance relief required, a minor subdivision request, i.e. a lot line adjustment. So we really can't look at it the way I believe you're suggesting we might want to look at it.
Okay, all right, no problem. How else then can we look at it to protect can we put conditions on this lot line saying, you know what? Don't do the averaging. Keep it the way it is to protect our wetlands regardless of who owns the land in the back.
I do not believe we have the authority to prohibit a property owner who's making a fully conforming minor subdivision approval by way of a condition to prohibit them from pursuing their rights vis-a-vis the DEP regulations and asking for, and maybe getting, a wetlands, transition buffer,
Averaging place.
Yeah, or an average buffer averaging plan.
There are problems that.
Short answer, no.
So that's the obstacle they're gonna have to overcome.
Right, I know, but the DEP is not us, though, right? This is
Yeah.
Milburn, and the DEP is usually just gonna say,
Well, this
yeah,
is one of
if
those
the
things where
planning
I
board
like-
said
I
it's
think
okay,
none
we're
of us
gonna
are
say it's
particularly
okay.
happy about
I think
it.
you care
I
less
think
what
No,
you
but-
say.
here,
Yeah.
I don't.
You have-
I
you
don't
have to
think we
have-
The tools available to stop
Yeah,
it.
you have to have a basis and if there were variance relief sought, you might have a basis to have certain conditions. Here, what's being offered is a drainage easement being codified, an LOI being provided and recorded, as well as stipulating to the conditions set forth in our engineer's report, and I don't think we really had any other conditions. And it's a fully conforming application. We don't have the authority, in my legal opinion, to condition approval on waiving your right to buffer averaging vis-a-vis the DEP or otherwise.
Yeah, I understand. So my suggestion to the neighbors is to check once they are doing the construction to make sure that they are following all the rules. Because I saw that many people present plans and then they don't follow. So you need to make sure that they are following all the rules.
It's a full-time job.
I
Yeah, it
I
is.
know, I have it behind my house, that's it. I know it. But
We feel for
you will need to
I
follow
know.
that.
I thank you for listening to me, that made me feel better.
But yeah, we can do it.
So in any event, that is the relief sought. Those are the conditions for the board for deliberation and vote.
Is there any further deliberation or?
I'm waiting for somebody to
Make the
move.
motion, and we'll all hold our nose and take the vote.
It appears as if the chairman's not inclined to make this.
I am not gonna make that motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Late and again, that's here.
Did you get the motion in second?
Oh, with the chair vote. I completely abdicated all my duties, I'm sorry.
Jonathan Baxter,
Yes.
Allison Canfield,
Yes.
Michael Cohen,
Yes.
Jorge Master Petro,
Yes.
Deborah Nevis,
Yes.
Frank Sacamandi,
Yes.
Michael Zion,
No,
Vice Chair Srini Vijay,
Yes.
Chair Gaston Hopper.
No.
7-2 passes.
Motion passes.
Correct, sir.
All right.
Thank you for your time tonight and extending the time.
Thank everybody.
Please, call Mr. Stone.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's put that, a very short.
Yeah, good to see you.
Okay.
Yes.
oh, God.
Mr. Chairman, I think we're gonna have a brief, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, this was a public on the Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
We are, we're gonna go into a closed session and we will be reopening just to close the meeting. There will be no formal action taken after our closed session. So we're signing off and see you next time.